everyone! It's the first day post-Saphathon for post-Saphathon clarity. Okay. Hydrate, thank you. I will drink on one of these. You know, last night when I was in bed, well, when I say last night, I mean like 9 a.m., but whatever. I was scrolling on Twitter before, you know, I let sleep take over. And there was this thing that like someone, like another VTuber had like posted, and it was like this thing I looked into earlier. It's like a Chinese like herbal like syrup, like a syrup of sorts that supposedly like coats your throat. And then everyone was saying how good it was. I bookmarked it. I might try it out because I wonder if it'll help with the whole dry cough thing, because I yap for a billion hours. And I definitely don't want to explode my voice, so I'll go look into that. Someone suggested like I don't really drink tea is the issue, but if I could just like mix it with water, I don't know. I'll see how that goes. We'll see. I'll go look into it though. Congrats on your birthday. Thank you. And I see we want a pixel here. Pixel on this scene. Okay, all right. Let's see, where is Pixel, Seth? You're so big. Yeah, my little table. There you go. Putting me a little shorter than a chess piece. Sounds accurate. Anyway, congrats on your birthday. Thank you. It was a really difficult birthday, you know. Congrats, our birth only took 17 to 18 days to give a birth to you. Imagine having a birthday, a birthing that lasts a billion days. I think you would explode for real. Hydrate, just hydrated. She's no longer has a metaphorical cutting board. You don't need a metaphorical one when you could just see it. When you can just go ahead and see it. Oh, that reminds me. If anyone calls me a lolly, I'm gonna kill them. I think fortunately though, I don't think that'll happen like here on Twitch. I think it will happen once I go back to drama tubing and start making videos about how much I think lollies are weird. Rather, lolicons are weird. See what? Hello, Flora. You're gonna draw me as practice anime art. Ooh, ayo. Also, your ankle is doing a little better, but still hurting. Oh no. Well, be sure to keep resting on it. Keep resting on it. If I remember correctly, I think you're saying that you're gonna get like a doctor appointment soon. Hopefully that goes well. But also, go try to use me as anime practice art. I think the design can be a little what is it? Much at times, but I mean, I guess if it's just upper body, it actually doesn't look that bad. It doesn't look that complex. It's like when you start going when you take the whole thing into account, yeah, it starts looking a little complicated, but in a good way. Also, hi, Smooth. Hello. You like challenges? Let's go. Well, I hope you have a good time, and feel free to tag me or use the my art hashtag, and you know, just I'm looking forward to it. Are you sure about the title? I mean, Twitch didn't ban it, so it's not like you guys are actually gonna see any like actual Sesbian legs. I'm gonna black it out so you guys can't actually see it. So nothing's really gonna happen. It's this meme anyway. LOL. All right. I mean, like if there was a problem with it, they would have fucking. It wouldn't be allowed. There's certain things where I tried making some titles and they're just like, yeah, we don't really know if this flies with the community thing, and I'm like, oh. Okay, I think one of them might be like Twink. I think Twink's not allowed. I know Twink is definitely not allowed for clip titles. You can't use the word Twink, which sucks, but you know. Like Twitch has been reliable lately though. Yeah, with the whole TwitchCon thing. Like every year that TwitchCon happens, I swear, it just makes me less and less wanting to go to TwitchCon, because like every year every year they have a TwitchCon. There's always something wrong happens. But most of the time, it's like those after parties, you know, where like, you know, people get fucking drugged and like, you know, spiked drinks and everything, which is like bad. But someone can argue that like technically Twitch isn't responsible for those because those are like the after parties that people are hosting. But I don't know. Would you ever go? I want to like just for the experience. But like here's the thing when it comes to like TwitchCon and like cons with like creators as a focus is that like I don't know if I would like it. It might be fun to go see some friends if we're all going, you know, to finally meet some people that I haven't actually got to see in person before, or you know, see friends that I haven't seen in a while, if they ever decide to go at the same time as I do. But I feel like there's just a lot of things I'm just like, I don't know. Every year that happens, it's just like there's always just something bad. And then recently, like Emiru got basically assaulted at a meet and greet, and I'm just like, and like nothing happened, like no like none of the Twitch staff actually did anything. It was all her staff that did something, and I'm like, I don't know. Like I don't think, like I'm not worried personally about like, you know, me being, because like I don't think I'm gonna do any like special events, right? Mostly because I also like my whole anonymity kind of dealio. I kind of don't really want to, you know, go out there and basically dox myself. So like if I were to ever go to TwitchCon, I kind of wouldn't really tell you guys what I'd look like. I would just be there, hide everything that I can, that I need to, and then I'm just there. And then I'd probably hang out with like actual IRL friends, because I know I have some IRL friends that really want me to essentially take them to TwitchCon so they can be like, look at my friend, she's successful. That's what they joked about a year or so ago anyway. But you know, yeah, same. But I kind of want to go just to see what it's all about. Yeah, me too. Like I just want to like see what it's like what the vibes are like, and compare it to like an anime con. I feel like anime cons are better though. Because I feel like TwitchCon is enjoyable if you know a lot of creators or you like want to look for a lot of creators. The issue is though, I don't really watch a lot of Twitch people. I mean, unless Manly Badass Hero is there, I guess, question mark, but you know. Touching was involved, so add battery. Yeah, I guess, but I thought battery is more just like actual like, you know, like punching and stuff. But like, you know, she did get grabbed and like forcibly, like the guy tried to kiss her, which was really gross. If someone can get that close to a creator, someone could have died there. Yeah, someone could like, I don't know how well their weapons thing is. I don't think they're patting anybody down. I don't think they're like checking bags and everything. That with how that guy just strode up there and fucking just grabbed her, he could have easily, instead of grabbing her and trying to kiss her, which by the way, really disgusting behavior, don't do that, but instead of that, he could have just grabbed out a fucking knife from like a big ass like long pan and just stab if he really wanted to. Like it's so scary for creators there. If you go, I will find you and attack you and kill you. Twitch admins, this is not a joke, and if you don't intervene, you will be in the news once again. Mackie. What the fuck? I mean, if you are there, we probably know just because how short you are. No battery is the thing your Xbox 360 controller needs every 6 hours. Speaking of which, let me check how my phone's doing. You on low battery mode? Why is the low battery mode off? This should be on at all times. What the hell is my iPhone doing, bro? I put something on here so you always have this on low battery mode. What the hell? What the hell? What do they call this anyway? Not notifications. It was like a setting. Ah, shortcuts. Why is my shortcut not working? I'll put a shortcut. Run immediately. Okay. It just doesn't want to be in low power mode. You're cringe. So I'm looking at my phone right now, trying to be like, why the hell is this shit not working? But I definitely don't know how Twitch works, so all right, well. Or not Twitch, iPhone. I fucking hate iPhone. I'm an Apple, or I'm an Android user. I don't like Apple, but I literally only have a phone just for VTubing. Anyway. Look for the short, flat Asian woman with the Valley Girl accent and cat hair. Well, you're woefully mistaken if you think I'm flat. Haunted phone. Your iPhone eating ass. Smash your phone. Why you want me to smash my phone? You took the love language thing, and physical touch, quality time, and acts of service are tied with 28. Damn, a three-way tie. I'm definitely a quality time person. So that means, you know, parasocially, since you guys are hanging out and vibing, I appreciate it. That means I know you guys like me. Lying, I don't believe you. I'm a visual learner. No. You missed Skyline 3-way. My immersion. I will say I wouldn't mind being flatter IRL, but alas, I was unfortunately equipped with some fat pads. I don't know how to describe it in a non-sussy way. Anyway, 3 years, 3 months, 12 days, and 18 hours. Oh my goodness. Hot chick's old. Hot chicks old for real, for real. Simply give them to me. I would gladly donate my boobs to someone who wants boobs. I would gladly, if I can just transplant my boobs to somebody who wants it for their gender dysphoria. I would. I'd be like, yeah, you know what? Take them, make them. I wouldn't mind donating some. I don't know if I want to be like entirely flat though. I do like a little bit. I don't know though. Bestowed a gift, whether it's good or bad, you decide. True. I definitely would. If uterus transplants were also a thing, I would also give that away. I don't think those are a thing, but if it was required, or if it was an option and it wasn't like a bitch to deal with, I'd be like, yeah, someone else can take this. I don't ever want to give birth to kids. Someone else can have that. You know, a person with gender dysphoria, especially the boob part. Majammed likes his boobs. I'm proud of you. Give me your boobas. Hot chick, you want boobs? But anyway, what was I gonna yap about besides boobs? Well, okay, hold on. We talked about dust bunnies briefly earlier in the pre-chat, and I had a funny story from yesterday where, so like I was like, you know, done with stream. I went to go ahead, you know, close all the windows before I go to bed, and as I did so, I was like approaching the window, and then there was like this, like, you know, this like blob-looking thing on the ground next to one of the cat beds, and I looked at it, and I was still like, you know, a couple feet away, like you know, maybe like for the non-feeters, I would say like a meter away. I was about a meter away, and then like I took like a tentative step forward because like I was looking at it, I was like, is that a bug? Is that a roach? I don't know. It looks really fuzzy, but I don't know what that is, because it looked different from the floor. And then I took like a tentative step forward, and then the thing moved. It moved. It just straight up just like scurried a little bit. I was like, oh, and then I made like a weird like noise of like, you know, I'm trying not to scream because it's like what, 4 a.m. or whatever. But my cats heard it, and my cats were just vibing and eating like the dry food, and then like they heard my weird noise, and they were like, oh, and they all ran into my room because they're like afraid. And then so like since I got worried, I was like, okay, hold on. And then I went immediately to where my shoes were so I can grab a shoe so I can go smash whatever it was. And then like thankfully whatever moved had like only moved a little bit, and like it stopped. And I'm like, okay, this thing is dumb. I'm gonna go squish it. And then so I grab my shoe, I get really close, and then I smack it. And then nothing happened. Nothing happened. I smashed it, and then the thing was like, it was like there, but like it kind of floated. And I was like, I looked at it, and I got a little closer, and I'm like, oh, This is just Sandals' cat hair. This is just a bundle of cat hair. So I just put my shoe away, grab the hairball, and I'll put it in the trash. And I'm just like, well, that's kind of dumb. So, yeah, definitely roach PTSD is a thing. Imagine if you saw that scuttering inches away from your face as you're doing planks. Yeah, no, every time that I have to go on the floor, I get nervous because I'm just like, what if there's a roach here? I wouldn't know because it blends into my carpet. And the only way I would know is because I see something moving across my carpet and they move really fucking fast. So I got worried, but I mean, you know, I've been on the floor a few times over the past 2 weeks. I haven't seen anything, so... Doc, your breast reduction surgery has been successful. Safway, who got the booze? Mackie in the other room. You got C cups, Saf. You ain't giving up. Why do you have C cups? Keep them in yourself, but I still want them. Wait, what? Hot chick, are you okay? Imagine, oh yeah, all the Hollow Knight cooked your brain. What do you mean? Hollow Knight, none of them look scary. Like actual roaches. Actual roaches are scary. Well, actually, no. There's some bugs in Hollow Knight that are actually kind of scary. Never mind. Okay, but none of them look like creepy roaches. Anyway, that was my roach story of the day. Because it wasn't really a roach. That being said, though, I gotta spray pesticides like tomorrow or something. Oh, I'm so lazy. I don't know if I'll spray pesticides tomorrow. I might just wait. I might just take tomorrow literally just a day off, like for real, just do nothing. And then Monday I'll go spray everything down. Ugh. Because I just gotta make sure no roaches persist in my residential area. Gotta make sure there's a billion pesticides, so if they walk over any surface, they immediately fucking die when they groom themselves. Because, like, I mean, I have seen a roach, so they're still around, but I don't know where they are. So, but I mean, like, I haven't seen, like, an infestation of roaches, and I definitely haven't seen one on the cat food, which is interesting. Because my cats are fucking messy. But I haven't seen anything for the cat food, so. Do your roaches love to move at night? Yeah, they're more of a nocturnal thing. They kind of come out sometime after midnight. And I'm pretty confident I don't see them in the morning. I don't see them in the morning. I don't see them in the afternoon. They tend to happen at night, though. But unfortunately for them, I'm a night dweller, so. But I mean, like, you know, I've been to the kitchen a few times at night. I haven't seen anything, so. Have a nice sleep then? No, they're not gonna be near my bed. Besides, I sleep in the morning. I sleep at like past when the sun starts coming out. The roaches ain't there no more. And then I wake up when it's like, you know, dusk. Probably not healthy, but life be like that. Are all night dwellers here? Truly. Truly, I appeal to the insomniacs. With this streaming time, yeah. Anyway, I'm gonna go finish this really quick. Anyway, we have some more wheel spins to do today. Finishing my Coke Zero. Yes, all of us. Well, I mean, Darren's definitely more on the normal sleeper schedule side. You never know when the creepies crawlies are gonna crawl creepingly. That is true, but so far I haven't seen them crawl creepily upon me. No, why you say mommy? No. Don't be weird. All right, let's go do wheel. So we got 4 wheel spins. I did my math. We got 4 more wheels to do. So let's do some spins. Also, the thought of something crawling into your mouth when you sleep happens to me from time to time. I have never had that thought. Even when people are like, "Oh, you eat spiders in the middle, like in your sleep," I have never thought about the sensation of such a thing. Can I? No. more cringe copy pastas. Alright, who has a cringe copy pasta they want me to read? Come on, copy pasta. There's a short one since Saf has trouble describing boobas. I did a boob one that Cardboard sent yesterday. I did that one already. Is that the one you're referring to, or are you referring to a different one? Roaches can crawl into your mouth and you can unconsciously eat them. No. Who has the Navy SEALs one? That is an iconic one. Mackie got one. What's yours? Me. Okay, what is it? Post it. Post it. You send it to DMs. Okay. What the oh my god. Okay. Alright, let me open this. Am I allowed to say this? Am I allowed to say this? Yes, because you've typed it out. I think you typing it out is slightly different than me saying it out loud. It's one of the quotes. Let me add something here. let me add this really quick. All right, I have added a certain content classification. I mean, I'm gonna have to do it anyway for Sesbian Lex today, but you know. Remember the Google AI thing talking about cockroaches crawling into what? No, I don't know that one. I don't know that one. What? Wow, this is like a perfect fit right here. That's crazy. Which one? Yours or Mackie's? Wait, hold on. Wait, what's Hot Chicks? Both of these are cursed? Both of those are cursed as fuck. Oh my god. We'll do Eggman pisses on the moon. We'll go do this one. We'll go do this one. You guys are cursed. You guys are so cursed. Hope you guys know that. All right. Eggman pisses on the moon. I've come to make an announcement. Shadow the Hedgehog is a bitch-ass motherfucker. He pissed on my fucking wife. That's right. He took his hedgehog fucking quilly dick out and he pissed on my fucking wife and he said his dick was this big. And I said, that's disgusting. So I'm making a call-out post on my twitter.com. Shadow the Hedgehog, you got a small dick. It's the size of this walnut, except way smaller. And guess what? Here's what my dong looks like. That's right, baby. All points, no quills, no pillows. Look at that. It looks like 2 balls in a bong. He fucked my wife, so guess what? I'm gonna fuck the earth. That's right. This is what you get. My super laser piss. Except I'm not gonna piss on the earth. I'm gonna go higher. I'm pissing on the moon. How do you like that, Obama? I pissed on the moon, you idiot. You have 23 hours until the piss droplets hit the fucking earth. Now get out of my fucking sight before I piss on you too. This shit's cursed. This shit's cursed, bro. Didn't roll the R on droplets though, so 9 out of 10. I can't roll my R's. I can't roll my R's. Literally rolling my R's is impossible. Anyway, let's go back to some wheel spins. I heard your soul die while reading. It be like that. All these cursed copy pastas, they are indeed cursed. What's next over here? Oh, leg day again? Alright. Back to leg day. Oh, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. Welcome back, Ocean. Alright, that's 30 jumping jacks. We got 2 more wheel spins. 2 more. No! No! Okay. Let's pocket this really quick in case we get another thing. We're pocketing that. This is the final wheel spin. Okay. Alright, I'm gonna do 30 jumping jacks. And then I'll go get my shot of Clamato. Chug the rest of the bottle? No, there's still like a whole third of the bottle left. I'm not chugging that. Drink Clamato while planking. You want me to die? One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. Oh, my legs are so tired. You aren't gonna use it otherwise? We don't want it to go into waste? I'm okay with it going to waste. I'm not typically a food waster, but I'll make an exception for Clamato. Alright, I'm gonna be right back. I'm gonna go get that shot of Clamato. Fucked up, Sam. So, my shot glass is in the dish in the sink because I didn't wash my dishes yet. So, chug. I'm not gonna chug it all. There's still like A third left? You, Saf, go do it. Do what? Do what? My dishes? I'm gonna do it tomorrow. I can wait. Yeah, no, there's like a whole third left. I'm not chunking this. Do the dishes? No. I'm doing it tomorrow. I can do my dishes tomorrow. But I'll drink enough from the bottle. That will definitely... Here, I'll do like 3 big sips. How's that? We are almost done. To chug or not to chug? Saphera, what clamato? Clamato. Will someone give me a biddy? I'll do it for 1 bit. Whoa, look at that. I get 2 bits. Thank you, Mackie. Okay. Okay, thanks, hot chick. Wow, look at that. I got 3 bits for the price of 1. Okay. AG, thank you for the 100 biddies. You would sell your left hand to drink clamato. Why would you sell it to drink clamato? Here, it's done though. It's done. Hungry me. You like clamato? Post empty bottle as proof. I just did. It's in the Discord now. Gimme, what are you doing? Oh, my tummy feels so full and cold. You want to sniff a Grimmy? There's nothing there. It's empty. Okay. Before my ADHD takes over. Oh, my tummy. Hydrate? Oh, I don't even want to drink anything right now. What are you doing, cat? Want to listen to the cat instead? What are you doing, Grimmy? You just want to sit there and vibe? Is that it, Grimmy? You a good kitty? You a good boy? Huh, Grimmy? Huh, Grimmy? Ew, don't lick. Why are you licking my microphone? Why are you doing that? So cute. Alright. Remember how she swore she wasn't going to finish the bottle at the very start of the Saphathon? You cannot trust this woman to ever tell the truth. CW was right. I'm a liar. What are you doing? Give me a stretching. You're blocking my light source with your butt. Okay, well, was there anything else I wanted to yap about today? You never believed her after after the document. You're all hate watching me? No way. You're me. Hi Sachi, she sold out for 103 bits. She's a grifter. Checking it for shits and giggles, always good. Sav, you know we hate watch, by the way. Oh, no way. This is not quality time. This is hate watch time. Today I learned. Okay, I'm gonna go set up for Sesbian Lex because I don't know if I have anything else to yap about. I did my thanks for the Saphathon. I need to do a tweet on it too as well, and then update my intro post. Finished Clamato though, that's cool. Anyway, you guys ready for Sesbian Lex? I'm ready for Sesbian Lex. I gotta yap a lot. I'll be right back. What is this? After some time to reflect on my birthday Saphathon, I noticed what has been the reoccurring highlight for the 18 days. It's the opportunity to drink Clamato every single day. Not a sponsor yet. My DMs are open for opportunities! No! If they actually contact me, that would be fucking crazy. Was Clamato good? No. I think tomato juice is yucky. The clam is whatever, but the tomato juice, nah. Okay, hold on. I'm gonna go make that tweet. I'll post the fucking thing as well. The image that I posted on Discord. Where is it? Lamcore, hello! Welcome! Hi everyone, how are you? How was your stream? I hope it was good. Hello. Subnautica, how was that? How was the deep sea? Was it spooky? Raid time, it was good. I'm glad to hear it. Hello, your model gorgeous. Thank you. I appreciate it and welcome. It was so spooky. Oh my goodness, I can imagine. Cause like I haven't played Subnautica myself, but I just know it's like deep sea, scary ocean stuff, and like, you know, the ocean has some wacky things. No offense to ocean in chat, but you know. Stream's going good though. We're just like finishing up the yapping segment. I just drank the whole bottle of Clamato, which was very tomato juicy and gross. I mean, I didn't drink the whole entire bottle in one sitting. It was throughout the course of the past 2-3 weeks. But I just finished the last like third basically. Anyway. But thank you again for the raid. I appreciate it. My name is Saphera Denoma, Machuni Necromancer Nephilim Wolf, and we're just doing some good old yapping. We're gonna do some vampire Yuri Sesbian Lex visual novel very soon. I do mean that a little literally. There is gonna be a NSFW set. I think there's one more left, but you won't see it on stream. But that will be there. It is, but you know, it is a vampire Yuri though. So yippee! People love going inside. What the hell? Sounds like a good time though. Yeah, it's always fun to hang out with the community. And thank you again for the raid and being here. If you have to do any like, you know, streamer aftercare, if you got to raid and lurk, if you got to get some dinner, you know, go, you know, get a drink or whatever. Do what you gotta do. I totally understand. Thank you again for the raid. I appreciate it. Thank you. We're gonna switch over to, what is it? Vampire Yuri very soon. Very soon. We love Sheep. Sheep is cute. Me and Thalassophobia and playing this game don't mix. I have heard that from, I believe we also have another community member who also has Thalassophobia. So yeah, I can imagine it doesn't bode very well if you have a fear of the ocean and the deep sea. Hi, that's what she's talking about. I didn't want to name you just in case. Yum, I love Vampire and Yuri. You might like the Vampire Yuri then. We are on like the halfway, a little bit over halfway though. But it's be good. It's be good. Although I have yet to get actual bitey scene, which is the only thing that I'm like, you know, that I like bites when it comes to vampires, you know. but yeah, thank you again for the raid and welcome everybody. Okay, I'm gonna go switch over really quick. Give me a second because I do need to close a few things, open up a few things. I will be right back. Okay. Also, I'm gonna have to readjust my position because I think I have to get really tiny for the visual novel game because my body too big. That's really about it. Okay, I will be right back. BRB, BRB. Everyone sit tight. I think. Let's see when. Hold on. Let me pull up. Twitch. Also, let me go post this that hot chick was asking about. How are we doing on ads? Oh, yeah, it's about time. We can do a little bit of ad break really quick while I do this. You just got dealt 500 psychic damage. Why? Saphera the Chucky. No. Thalassophobia is one of your core traits. You played Outer Wilds blind, and when I accidentally fell into a small dark pool, I screamed, covered my eyes, spun in my chair, and had to take a minute to calm myself. Note there is nothing in the water. I just got scared from falling in. Damn. I don't know if I would call that a core trait though, but okay. Oh my god, that's nope. Oh no. Mackie, don't traumatize people. You're not going to sit tight. You're going to stand loose. Okay, you stand loose then. I approve of it. Okay, I'll be right back. I'll be right back. Okay, we are back. We are back. Hopefully everything's okay. Hopefully it's not too bad. Ow. Okay, thank you everybody. Hold on, let me get whatchamacallit, chat. I might need to neuter you a teeny bit. Just a teeny bit. Okay, what's hap? What are you guys yapping about over there? That's like a perk that you would get in like The Sims. That's 100% a core trait. Okay. I mean, I guess deep-seated fears is a core trait. Real, I was in a lightless cave, so I was tweaking. You flew onto a gas giant planet later in the game, and your heart sank when I was going really fast, and only when I broke the atmosphere did I notice that it was an entire ocean world, and I was going too fast to stop yourself from crashing in. So you just had to unpause and close your eyes and had just listen to figure out what was happening on the screen. Damn. No, we're getting neutered? Yeah, you guys get neutered a little bit. It wasn't that bad. It was just the dread of pausing in time to see it was an ocean world, but knowing I had to eventually unpause and just rip off the bandage. Dang. Got like knowing you have to confront your fears for real, for real. Mackie's writing thesis. Mackie's very passionate. That's how you can tell Mackie's really passionate about it. Okay, let me get game over here and then chat over here. So then that way I can read what you guys are saying as I go do a scuff voice acting. Yippee! Oh shit, I forgot to plug in my phone. Okay, hold on. Let me try plugging in my phone so it doesn't die on me. Hold on. BRB still. You work. Ah, it's charging now. Cool. Alright, my charger's working again. Yippee! Yeah. Okay. So adding bits helps in throwing stuff at her. Only when it's over a certain amount. 1 bit alone doesn't do anything anymore. Let's see. Does falling into a massive planet count as thalassophobia? I mean, if the whole planet's an ocean, I guess it would. Hello, Kier Sarge. Welcome, welcome. I mean, I've done it like 10 times before, and it was fine. The only dread was when you got through the clouds to see what was underneath. It can be fear-inducing due to anticipation, unexpectedness, and overwhelming, uncontrollable situation. Whole planet is me. Whole planet ocean, for real, for real. All right. So last we left off on the vampire Yuri. On the vampire Yuri is whatchamacallit. Micah and Magdalena had Sesbian Lex, and then on the other side, her maid, Micah's maid Henny, is working with the church, who was working with a vampire, and the vampire kid is gonna go and basically was like, okay, I'll go ahead and help kill the other vampire so you can save your mistress. Okay, there we go. Great summary by Saf on the fly. Let's go. Sesbian, Lex, and only Mackie and Saf ate good. Assuming Mackie didn't send to anyone. Wait, did Mackie not send it to anyone? That's so funny. Okay. It was late at night, the moon round and full, when Henny ventured into the woods, Johann and Hyde Marie in tow. The woods were every bit as eerie and inhospitable as Henny remembered from her wanderings weeks prior. What the hell was that? I just heard like a closet banging noise. I think that was my cat. Anyway, the boughs of the trees were curled like claws as though meaning to grab her, and the uneven floor was strewn with loose leaves, twisted roots, and creeping fog. It was a cold, windy night, and the breeze which ran through the boughs of these skeletal trees seemed almost to sob. The breeze nipped at Henny's fingers and at the hem of her sensible black maid's dress, so she shivered. Henny knew where Magdalena's home was, more or less, yet she had been in such a state as she ran away from it, she felt disoriented. The forest was full of tall, skinny trees. It was hard for her to get her bearings. She hoped only that she was right in her recollection, and her footsteps were leading her closer to Micah's side rather than further. "Please, Micah," Henny prayed silently, her soles depressing the twigs and the leaves beneath her. "Be safe, that's all I ask." "Well, isn't this a beautiful night?" Hyde-Marie spoke in casual tones that belied the seriousness of their situation. As they walked, she, for her part, seemed quite at ease, though perhaps that was because, as a vampire, she was accustomed to the stillness of the night. I am blocking her a little bit. Oops! Certainly, she would have preferred it over the heat and the light of the day. The moon is so lovely, yet lethal. Lethal? But of course, werewolves aren't the only beings who undergo significant changes during the full moon. It also imbues us vampires with strength. Hyde-Marie flexed her fingers, extending them as a pianist might before setting them down to play a symphony. For a being who has been dead for so many centuries, I feel quite alive. I'm positively tingling with excitement. It's been a long, long while since I had a job to do. Hyde-Marie's lips split into a grin, wide enough to reveal her incisors. They glistened at the front of her mouth, sharper and more deadly than needles. I hope it doesn't disappoint. I'll be upset if this Magdalena does not put up a fight. Now, Hyde-Marie, we didn't come out here to have fun. Frau Henrique wishes for our help, and we must do all we can to aid her. This is serious. A woman's life may be on the line. Well, of course I know that. I'm aware that this will be a delicate operation. But I think that makes this even more entertaining. It's been a terribly long time since I got to rescue any fair maidens. I do so love being a brave, noble hero, though I must give you a few words of advice, Fräulein. There is a chance that your beloved mistress may already have departed from the world of mortals. Oh! Annie stiffened at this, and Johann's disapproving frown deepened. Hyde-Marie, please, be more considerate. By that, you mean ply her with false reassurances? No, I just... Such sweet lies might come easily to you, Johann, but they don't sit right with me. I might be a depraved monster, but I don't like to deceive people. I don't deceive people. I spread the word of God. And you truly believe in the eventual reckoning and salvation and heaven? Yes, of course I do. You know I do. I wouldn't preach of such matters if I didn't. Hyde-Marie pressed her lips together before eventually capitulating. Yes, I suppose you're right. You've always been an awful goody two-shoes. You're not a liar either, Johann, though you are misguided in your optimism. I know you wish only to think on the most positive potential outcome, but life often does not work out as we might want. Hyde-Marie looked again to Henny, one arm resting on her hip. Powerful though I am, I'm not privy to everything that happens in Augsburg's vicinity. I cannot say for certain that your mistress will be unscathed. Though I'm certain I'll be able to dispatch with this Magdalena in due course. It may be too late for your mistress. Please come to terms with that during our travels. It will save you a lot of unnecessary grief later. Well, I suppose you have no ill intentions by saying this. Johann clicked his tongue, while Hyde-Marie tittered. But you don't need to sound half so gleeful while phrasing your concern. It makes one doubt how genuine you're being. You think I'm not being genuine? You rarely are. You're a menace. Oh, woe is me. Hyde-Marie staggered back dramatically, one hand pressed to her breast, as though she had been mortally wounded. Had Henny not been so tense, perhaps she would have smiled at Hyde-Marie's antics. As it was, however, she found herself incapable of seeing the funny side in the young girl's capering. Her thoughts were too full of Micah to pay the mischievous Hyde-Marie such much heed. She knew Hyde-Marie had a point. Her Micah could very well be dead, but Henny did not wish to come to terms with such a possibility. If Micah was dead... Oh, if Micah was dead... Frau Henrique? It was Johann who spoke next, after the pause rent by Heidmarie's warning, his voice softer and gentler than the moonlight. I know Heidmarie speaks callously, but she does have a point. There is no guarantee we will be able to save your mistress. But if her heart beats still, then Heidmarie and I will do all in our power to save her. You can rest assured on that score. Please, place your faith in us. I would never seek to betray your trust, not when you went to the effort of seeking us out as you did. Yes, Johann is right. If there is a damsel to recover, she shall, of course, be rescued. And if she is a corpse, well, we'll simply have to pay her our respects. Either way, you'll get the closure that you want. By the time this night is up, we will know exactly what has happened to your beloved Micah. Thank you. I don't know how Micah has been faring, or what state she may be in when we find her. But I suppose I'll find out soon enough, before the night comes to a close. Everything will be sorted out then, one way or another, for better or for worse. Yes, that's a good way of looking at it. It's best not to get your hopes up too much. Heidmarie giggled to herself anew, as a young girl might, while Henny continued to traipse through the woods. Makes me realize I don't know how to... Whatever. She had been walking for almost an hour now, and she could feel the chill air growing colder as it settled about her shoulders like a shroud. Henny shivered, winding her arms about herself, and thought about Micah. Hi, old man Windbreaker. Hello, super reflective. If Micah was alive, she supposed she would be asleep right now, perhaps in the very same cell she and Henny had once played Joker in. Henny had hoped Magdalena had been giving Micah enough to eat, but she doubted it. Magdalena had not, for all her pretensions, been the most hospitable of hosts. Henny could only pray, with each footstep she took, that Micah had been able to endure all her suffering. She was a strong person, far stronger than her fair skin and delicate features suggested. Henny could still remember how, when they had been children, Micah had confessed to her mother that it had been she who had first hit upon the bright idea to enter the family's mausoleum, she who should be punished rather than Henny. Micah had always come to Henny's defense, heedless of what might happen to her. Henny had always admired Micah for her sense of justice. She thought her good, honest, and unwavering. Now, Henny meant to put on similar qualities for Micah's sake. Henny continued to walk on, the top of her head illuminated by the milky moonlight. Foliage rustled about her, and overhead an owl hooted. The fog swirled about her ankles. It was so thick Henny could hardly see where she was going. Henny's eyes were not golden like Heidmarie's, but those of an ordinary human, and they were unaccustomed to the gloom. Henny stumbled several times while walking, and Johann had to support her. Normally, Henny would have thanked Johann for his consideration, but she was so focused upon her tasks that she hadn't the words to spare for him. Every beat of her heart seemed to call out Micah's name. Her every thought was laced with her dear friend and of her fate. Henny knew it was a possibility that she might be too late, but she soon discarded it. Micah would be fine. She had to be fine. Henny still had hope. It swelled within her, growing stronger and stronger the closer she drew to Magdalena's home. Henny kept going, placing one foot after the other in a grim march until... Ah, yes, we must be on the right track. I can smell it now. Smell what? Death. Heidmarie's answers was a simple one, yet it made Henny shudder all the same. Vampires often cloak their abodes in magic, but these parlor tricks only work on mundane creatures such as humans. To a fellow vampire like myself, such enchantments are mere child's play. Try though we might, we vampires cannot hide from one another. The stench of death is much too strong. The soil beneath our feet is soaked with blood. When I strain my ears, I can hear the screams of her victims in the air. We must be very, very close indeed. Heidmarie smiled, her incisors razor sharp in the gloom which swelled about her. Now, I must prepare myself for coming face to face with this young vampire. I would hate to look a mess. Oh, read the third act. Act 4, A Maid and Her Mistress. It took Micah almost a full hour before she was finally able to drift off that night, lulled into the world of slumber by the stirring of the breeze beyond her bedroom window. In her dreams, Micah saw herself and Magdalena as she wished they were smiling, arms linked, like a pair of ordinary women. Oh, she's so down bad. In this dream, Micah was not the sole daughter of the once noble Von Essens, and Magdalena was not a vampire. They were both young ladies from moderately well-to-do families, both young and fresh-faced, with no outside pressures forcing them to wed. In this dream, Micah and Magdalena were of a like age, equals who had formed a fast friendship. Together, they would promenade about their families' estates, play cards, and help one another with their hair. They flipped through fashion magazines, offered helpful critique upon one another's clothes, and often, during quiet moments, they would sit together and devour books like sweetmeats. They would read plays and poems and prose, and once they had finished with their tomes, they would talk about them to one another excitedly. Nobody condemned their friendship, and nobody sought to come between the pair of them. Henny gladly gave Micah and Magdalena her blessing, as did their parents. Micah's mother, in her dream, was not the exacting Lady Von Essen, but another woman altogether, a woman kinder and more accepting, who did not smack books from Micah's hands nor revile her for being too willful. Micah even dared, in this dream, to pursue with her fictional Magdalena a relationship deeper than that of close friends. There were covetous glances and brushing fingers out in public, arms linked with heads dipped just a little too close when they shared secrets. Also, this reminds me, since we're doing Sesbian Lex, hold on. Let me just do this. There we go. wait. Hold on. Where's the... In private, meanwhile, between their reading of books and their girlish chatter, they came even closer together until... I'm praying against scissor jump scare, please, no. But Micah knew these dreams could never come to pass. She was tormenting herself by indulging in a fantasy which could not be realized, but still she continued to dream. She did not want to give her fantasies up. How could she? Micah had been lonely for most of her life, and she was tired of denying her heart what it wanted. She was smoldering. Micah turned beneath her covers, lost amongst her wonderful, impossible, painful dreams when... The sound of a scream awoke her. It was distant, but loud enough to penetrate her bedroom door. Micah sat up with a start, her mind jumbled. One hand flew to her chest, fingers splayed, beneath which her heart beat wildly, caught between sleep and waking. The screaming continued, high and hopeless. It was hard to gauge who owned the voice, but Micah thought it belonged to a woman. Was it Magdalena? Had she been caught off guard, her home laid waste? Micah knew not what kind of creature could make a vampire scream, but it must have been a frightening one. A trembling Micah rose from her bed and then dashed barefoot to her bedroom door. She took the handle between her fingers and tried it, but she was soon scuppered. The door, as always, was locked. Micah took a step back, fingers clenched at her front, deliberating. How was she to escape? Brute force was an option, she supposed. Micah was not very strong herself, but Magdalena's home was ancient. Everything was crumbling. The lock must have some give in it, enough to be sprung, perhaps, by her shoulder, if she applied enough force. Maybe she could try to jimmy the lock with a more elegant method, maybe a hairpin? Micah had several, which she kept in a ceramic tray by her bedside, which she used to style her hair. Micah had never tried to pry open a door with such an inelegant method before. When she had broken into the family's mausoleum with all those years ago, she had simply stolen a set of keys. It seemed imperative to try, however. If Magdalena was being hurt, then Micah wanted to protect her. Micah knew she could not simply stand idle and do nothing. Micah padded to her bedside and lit the candle which sat there with trembling hands. She selected a hairpin from the dish by her bedside for the job. Clutching it tight in her hand, she then started back for the door. Micah paused by the door, making to slide the slender pin into the lock, but her attempts at escape soon proved to be unnecessary. The door opened outwards, creaking as it did, before she had a chance to make use of the hairpin. There was somebody standing in the entrance of Micah's bedchamber, somebody that Micah knew well, despite the darkness which swirled in the hallway. It was Henny. Whoa, Henny's here already? Oh, Micah! Micah, thank goodness! I'm so glad to see you're all right. Henny threw herself forwards before Micah had a chance to speak and tightly wound her arms about her mistress's waist. The hairpin Micah had grasped now fell from her hand, her fingers falling slack. It hit the threadbare carpet, and there it lay, illuminated by spots of moonlight which crept in through the worn curtains drawn about the windows. The moonlight lit Henny's face too, or half of it, and Micah could see tears beating upon her lashes. Micah didn't think them tears of sadness, however. They looked, instead, to be born of relief. It had been almost a month since Micah had seen Henny last. Now they had finally been reunited. It was all so sudden and so very unexpected, it still did not feel real. Micah wondered whether this was not a continuation of her dream, now taking on a different bent, but that seemed unlikely. Henny's body was soft, and as Micah remembered, but it was unyielding as it pressed against her, her grip too tight to be made a fancy. Micah had read a good number of books in her time, but her imagination was hardly good enough to conjure up a scene this vivid. It really was Henny in the flesh, come to rescue her, just as she had promised. Henny! Oh, Henny! Micah began to sob herself, from both surprise and relief. She returned Henny's embrace, resting her head upon her shoulder, and for a while neither woman spoke. They only stood there in the entrance of Micah's bedroom and sobbed, clinging tight as though their lives depended on it. The screams, however, did not abate, and a fresh volley of piercing cries made Micah's body stiffen. Concerned, she drew back, and looking at Henny said, "What are you doing here? How did you get here? Did you do something to Lena?" "There's no time to explain right now. First, we need to escape." "Escape? But where?" "Outside. Hurry, Micah, before she catches us." "She?" Micah's brow furrowed. "Are you talking about Lena?" "I mean that monster, yes. Hyde Marie is holding her back, but I don't want to hang around while they settle matters. I spend more than enough time around monsters to last me a lifetime, and I bet you have too." "It was horrible, Micah, the things I've seen tonight trying to save you." "But I don't want to dwell on it. It doesn't matter." "Come on, let's go." But I'm not dressed. I can't wander around the woods in my nightgown, not barefoot. I need some shoes at least." "It can wait. Please, Micah, let's hurry. You need to run." "But..." Micah tried to protest, but Henny refused to listen. She squeezed Micah's hand in her own and turned, pulling her through the hallway and away from her bedchamber, away from her prison cell, away from her life with Magdalena. Micah called after Henny, bidding her to stop, but Henny did not listen. She continued instead to run, her soul slapping against the stones. Micah tried to twist her arm free from her friends, but she hadn't the power for it. Magdalena had taken too much of her blood that night, and it had left her weak, anemic, as had the kiss, then the caresses, which had followed afterwards. Toad5187, thank you for the follow. Welcome. Micah had always been thinner than Henny, her coloring more delicate, but in that moment Henny's strength seemed indomitable. This must have been the measure, Micah supposed, of how greatly Henny cared for her, but oh! While Micah was glad to see Henny, she did not wish to leave Magdalena's side, not like this. If she was to leave, she at least wanted to speak to her once more, to tell her what had happened. Micah tried to dig her feet against the cold floor, but it was to little avail. Henny responded only by asserting more pressure upon her hand. She was gripping Micah's fingers hard enough to hurt, hard enough Micah feared she might leave bruises. "We need to keep going. We're almost there, just a little further." Henny tried to console Micah, but her comforting voice fell upon deaf ears. Micah's attention had been taken, not by Henny's rescue attempt, nor her concern for Magdalena, but by a door thrown ajar a few paces away. Micah had not been inside any rooms in Magdalena's home save her own, so could not help but to cast a curious glance at its interior. The room was dark, the curtains drawn, yet Micah could make out several shadowy shapes within it. There was an armoire, an escritoire, and an impressive oaken-hewn bed, not so very different from the one in Micah's room. There was one factor, however, which differentiated the room in which Micah had stayed from this one, and that was the chains looped about the headboard. These chains, which glinted in the dappled moonlight, ended in manacles, which were still sealed tight about the limbs of a creature which no longer stirred. The creature which laid upon the bed had 2 slender arms and 2 slender legs, and it wore upon its body a gown which might once have been fine, but now was hopelessly tattered. Its legs were bare, and it wore no shoes. Its hair, long and dark, was matted about its face, its eyes closed as if in slumber. Micah could not tell if it was a small creature, even lying down, a good head shorter than herself and far skinnier. Yippee! Thank you, Spiffy, for the resub for 10 months. I appreciate it. Yippee! Why, Micah realized with a gasp, the creature was not a creature at all. It was a girl, and a very young girl at that. She could not have been much more than 4 or 5 years of age. She was still a veritable infant, an innocent child. Red like roses, and she was dead. Damn. Somebody had driven a decorative blade into her chest so deep its pointed tip threatened to pin her to the mattress upon which she lay. A single rivulet of red ran from the girl's mouth, staining her alabaster skin, and her arms and legs were bent at awkward angles, as if they had been hopelessly broken. Micah? Henny turned to look at her friend, fearful of what she had spied, and upon seeing her harried expression, winced. Please don't look at it. It will only upset you. God knows it upset me enough seeing Marie do that, but it had to be done. Oh, so Marie did kill her. And no wonder Magdalena was so protective or like loyal to the I guess because like we suspected it was like a thrall of sorts, but it seems like it was just a kid vampire, so that's why she was like trying really hard to keep her alive. She wasn't human, Micah. Micah could see that well enough, what with how horribly pale the girl was, but still, she grieved for her. She couldn't overlook how very young the girl was, nor how fragile she looked. It seemed a gross cruelty to treat a child so. Who could have killed her so callously? Micah's stomach churned. She heaved. Then, with bitter, acrid tears beating in her eyes, Micah! Micah turned her head and vomited all over the stone floor. Micah felt woozy after ejecting the contents of her stomach upon the floor, yet hadn't the time to properly regain her bearings. While sympathetic, Henny was anxious to keep moving, and after consoling Micah soon took hold of her hand again. I'm sorry, Micah, but we really have to run. We can't stay here, not any longer. I need to get you to safety. Micah would have argued, if she could, that she felt perfectly safe with Magdalena, yet could not. There was a sharp, sour taste at the back of her throat which prohibited all words, and, in any event, she knew the words she wanted to speak were untruths. She was not safe with Magdalena. How could she be, when the other woman had caused her so many wounds? If she continued to stay with Magdalena, it seemed inevitable that she would die. Henny knew this, too, and had traveled all the way to rescue her. Yet, though Micah appreciated it, an ungrateful part of her wished she had not bothered. Micah had already made peace with the thought of dying. She had made peace with it long ago, before Magdalena had taken her a prisoner even. She had always been a captive in some form or another, unable to say what was on her mind or to do what she truly wanted. Living with her parents had been no true life. It had been a hollow, empty existence which had parodied living, yet had been too full of waiting, all without consequences, for it to mean anything. Micah had never truly lived at all, not in all her 25 years. This had only changed after meeting Magdalena. Magdalena meant to kill her, but at least her company had lent Micah's pitiful existence some sense of purpose. Micah didn't want to leave her. She couldn't leave her. But Micah knew not how to communicate this to Henny. She did not think Henny would understand, regardless of how close they were. How could she? Henny had witnessed Micah's loneliness for herself, with her own eyes, over the course of many years, but she knew not just how it had hurt Micah, wearing her down until death began to seem preferable to the purgatory she found herself in. She had no idea. She thought she was saving Micah, but in actual fact, she was only wrenching her away from all it was she cared for. What would she do, Micah wondered, if Henny really was able to liberate her from Magdalena's abode? Where would she go? To Augsburg, she supposed, to marry Walter Gerhardt, as her parents had planned, but that was too horrible a fate to contemplate. Micah would rather have died. She would rather have had died with Magdalena. Come on, Micah, just a bit further. Henny Henny led Micah into the entrance hall of Magdalena's home. It was a vast empty shell of a room, which might once have been grand, but now was choked with dust. Micah took in, though vaguely, the chandelier suspended from the ceiling, festooned with spiderwebs, and the old piano in the corner, the lid closed, the keys untouched. The air was stagnant, and it stunk of decay. The entrance hall was dark, too, illuminated only by a few weak, wavering bands of moonlight which spilled in through the windows. The moonlight was bright enough, however, that Micah could see the hall was not deserted. She could see figures, one hanging back, obscured by shadow, while the other two faced off against the other. One of these figures was Magdalena. She was glowering, her lips pulled back in a snarl which revealed her teeth sharp like knives. The other figure, meanwhile, was unfamiliar to Micah. Her stature was diminutive, her heart-shaped face dwarfed by her swaths of fair hair. This figure, this girl, seemed so slight, Micah wouldn't have put her age at anything past 8 or 9. She was so slender, there was something fairy-like about her. The girl looked innocent, but a glance made it apparent that she was no ordinary child. Her skin was as white as milk, and her eyes were liquid gold. She must have been like Magdalena, and like the girl, Micah thought with a shudder, shackled to the bed, impaled through the heart. She was a vampire. Come on, Micah, let's try and get around them while they're busy. We've got a bit of a way to go, but I think we'll be able to make it. I don't think they've noticed us. Henny led Micah down the stairs. She followed, barefooted, dazed by all which had occurred. True to Henny's words, Magdalena seemed not to notice her. She was too busy glowering at the young vampire girl, a truly awful expression upon her face. Goodness me, is this how you treat all your guests? You aren't the most hospitable, are you? I thought you would have been glad of the company, living in a lonely pile like this for so very long, but I suppose not. Please don't tell me you're one of those curious people who enjoys being alone. If that were the case, I doubt you would be such an ardent practitioner of kidnapping. Shut up! Don't you take that tone with me, you monster! Don't you dare! Oh? The girl raised her eyebrow. A monster, am I? Yes, you are. You're an unpardonable monster. Don't act so high and mighty when you know what you did. You killed my mistress, you coward. You killed her in cold blood while she was chained up, unable to act, and she was only a child. Ah, yes. I suppose I did do that, didn't I? You suppose? Indeed, I did, and I must apologize for that. I fear I must have made quite the poor first impression. Perhaps I ought to have sought your company out first, rather than heading straight to the little mistress in her chamber. But I thought it common courtesy, you see, to talk to the lady of the house before her servants. You might have had years to perfect your deception, but I can tell at a glance you're not a proper lady. You're just a common scullery maid. It's very amusing that you thought you could act above your station like that. It's so funny I might laugh. But I suppose that would be rude too. Goodness me, I really can't do anything right. Hide Marie. A third figure, this one a tall, slender man who had been half hidden in the shadows, stepped forwards to caution the young girl. Don't make such a scene. Murdering a child is nothing to gloat about, not when she was incapable of fighting back. Now, let us stop the silliness and focus on the task at hand. We still have one more vampire to dispose of before we can consider our job done. Well? The vampire girl, Hyde Marie Micah supposed her name was, inclined her head in the tall man's direction, then pouted. That isn't any fun, Johann. You should know how much I love talking. It's rare that I get a chance to interact with one of my own. I am aware, but you shouldn't let yourself get distracted, not while we still have a job to do. You need to focus. Ugh, what a pain. You never let me have any fun. Fun? Magdalena stared Hyde Marie down, her red eyes little more than pinpricks in the whites of her eyes. You would kill my young mistress, and then you would call it fun? Have you truly no heart? You are reprehensible. Perhaps I am, but you've no right to chastise me yourself, vampire. How many innocents have you murdered yourself over the years to satiate your own bloodlust? This house has quite the macabre history. You can pretend otherwise. You've been doing that for decades, but you can't hide the truth from me. I can smell the blood in the air and all of the death. Now, I think it's high time I put an end to your wicked ways. It shouldn't be that hard. Hyde-Marie's golden eyes flickered languidly over Magdalena. You aren't at all in your peak physical condition. I can see it in that pinched, pained look in your face, and in the way that you slouch your shoulders. That little mistress of yours, who you kept chained up like a rabid dog, hasn't been treating you very well, has she? That is none of your business. You've been sustaining her over the years with fresh victims. Don't think I don't know what's been going on, but she hasn't been at all appreciative of your efforts. I imagine she gets violent when she gets hungry. I wouldn't be at all surprised if she bites. Be quiet! That's the problem, of course. When our kind are turned too young, these poor, pathetic fledgling vampires tend to lose their rationality. They can't handle the strain of immortality, and their mental faculties abandon them. They lose their sense of self, and they become nothing more than monsters. They can't be reasoned with. They can scarcely even think. They exist solely to satisfy their own hunger. But we vampires are greedy, selfish creatures, and we are never satisfied for long. It's impossible to keep young vampires like that from lashing out, no matter how hard you might try. That girl was obviously a lost cause. I have no idea why you thought it was a good idea to keep her alive for so long. I was doing her a favor when I killed her. She was an aberration. I said, be quiet! I might not be in my best condition right now, but I'm more than a match for a coward like you, who murders small children for sport. I won't let you escape unpunished, not after what you did to my mistress. Now that is funny. It's awfully hypocritical of you to want to fight me when I was turned before my 11th year. In human terms, I'm still a young girl myself, but please don't get any funny ideas into that empty head of yours. I'm not so weak as that creature you called your mistress. I never did lose my sense of self, though I've been alive for centuries. I am one of the oldest vampires in Europe, and I am certainly the most powerful. Do you really think you can best me? If so, I admire your optimism, but it's very much misplaced. It would be easier if you simply submitted to me. But never mind. I'm more than willing to teach you a lesson. Micah had been watching this exchange halfway up the grand staircase, frozen in horror, but now Henny seemed at long last to have had enough. Micah, come on! Henny tugged at Micah's hand again, trying to chivvy her along. Chivvy her? We need to move. Micah knew Henny was right, yet she could not tear her eyes away from Magdalena. Hyde-Marie was fast approaching Magdalena, supremely self-confident despite her short stature. The vampire girl might have looked like a child, but Micah knew she was anything but. Her smile was genial enough, but her gold eyes were cold and contained within them no mercy. It was she who had killed the child chained upstairs. She had driven a stake through her heart and had listened, perhaps, to her dying cries. She was every inch a killer, just as Magdalena was. Now she meant to put an end to Magdalena too, and Micah fears she might be successful in this endeavor. How could Micah run away with Henny and let that happen? She could not. She had to protect Magdalena. I'm sorry, Hen, but... Micah, with a burst of newfound strength, wrenched her arm free from Henny's grasp, then dashed forth. I need to help Lena. What? But Micah! Henny called after her friend, her right arm extended. Why would you do that? She kidnapped you. You don't owe her anything. She might have kidnapped me, but that doesn't mean I don't care about her. She's a good person, really, and I don't want her to be hurt, much less killed. Now, wait. Oh, please, wait. Micah's feet slapped against the ground as she ran, her white nightgown billowing about her legs. Coming between Magdalena and Hyde-Marie, she spread out her arms in the hopeful yet ultimately futile gesture of one who meant to stop the whistling of the wind or the lashing of the rain. Don't do this, please! Don't hurt! Yippee! Don't yippee this! Oh. But despite Micah's good intentions, she was unable to finish her entreaty. Hyde-Marie had been moving too quickly, far more quickly than any human eye could hope to follow, and, though spying Micah, she had not been able to slow in time. The young vampire was soon upon Micah, her right hand extended. Her nails, which were filed into dangerously sharp points, pressed against Micah's back, then pierced straight through her chest. Hyde-Marie's right hand penetrated Micah's ribcage as if her flesh was ephemeral, made of nothing Steadier? I think sturdier. Sturdier than spider webs. Though Micah cried out, it took a few moments for the pain to fully hit her. Her eyes were wider than goose eggs as she looked down, staring at the arm which had penetrated her shuddering body. Viscous red liquid was beginning to ooze down Hyde Marie's white wrist. It was so vivid in the gloom of Magdalena's cavernous entrance hall that it looked unreal, like something from a dream. Micah's blood was brighter than rubies and thicker than strawberry jam. The art goes really hard, though. I'm gonna say that. That art goes really hard. Micah's body twitched about Hyde Marie's hand. She felt herself turning numb by increments, first her legs, then her chest, then her shoulders, then her arms, until she could no longer feel the tips of her fingers. Micah looked at her own blood as it dripped onto the threadbare carpet and moaned. Her blood looked oddly beautiful in an obscene, profane sort of way. But Micah didn't have the time to contemplate how brightly her blood shone, nor how otherworldly it seemed. The agony of being rent in two soon overcame her. Micah! Oh God, Micah! Micah? And with a twin series of cries from the two women whom Micah cared about the most, her body tottered. She teetered. All strength she had once possessed fled her, as if that too had been a dream. Oh, that's pretty gnarly. Micah drew away from Hyde Marie with one jerking footstep, thus freeing herself from the young vampire's grasping right hand. Her chest wound, no longer stoppered by Hyde Marie, seemed to expand when she shuffled away. It gaped open like the maw of a hungry beast, and more of Micah's lifeblood spilled onto the stone staircase. Micah pressed one white trembling hand to her wound, and was surprised when her fingers came away stained.
Gay, homosexual, gay.
Thank you, Ryu, for the resub. For a whole year, too! Yippee! Put a band-aid on that, she'll be fine in no time. Yeah, just put some flex tape on, we'll be good. She could smell blood in the air. Her blood. It was a dizzying, overpowering stench which plugged up her nostrils. Yippee! Micah swayed. Then, with a hiss of pain, she fell. Micah's body hit the ground like that of a lifeless, senseless doll. And her vision went black. Micah! Oh God! Oh God! Henny watched with wide, anxious eyes as Micah collapsed to the ground, pressing one hand to her aching chest. The maid cried out as if to rouse her mistress, though to little avail. Micah, please, wake up! Oh, this can't be happening! Henny dashed to Micah's side and knelt before her, Micah's head cradled upon her lap. Henny took care not to jostle Micah as she embraced her, for fear of hurting her, but a resultant gasp of pain from Micah's lips would have been preferable to the silence that Henny was greeted with. Micah didn't open her eyes, though Henny threaded her fingers through her disheveled hair. She was still breathing, though barely, but this offered Henny little in the way of solace. Micah's face was so pale she might have been a corpse. The wound Hyde Marie had inflicted upon her, meanwhile, was gaping. It continued to ooze blood like a particularly macabre fountain as Henny watched. Henny did not touch Micah's wound. She worried she would only make it worse, but it was bleeding so profusely she soon found herself sullied. The rich, overwhelming stench of blood clung to Henny, but she didn't pull away from her mistress. To leave Micah lying upon the floor with nothing to cushion her head seemed callous beyond all measure. Henny was now certain there was nothing she could do to save her dear friend. I mean, turn her into a vampire, I guess. Micah had lost too much blood and her poor face was so very pale. Micah, oh Micah. I didn't come here to hurt you. This isn't what I wanted. I wanted to rescue you. I thought I could help, so why? More tears fell from Henny's lashes. They rolled down her cheeks and dripped upon Micah's body, mingling with the bright red blood which stained the front of her gown. Why did things work out this way? How did I make such a mess out of everything? Why am I so useless? These queries forced their way from Henny's throat in a low, pained moan, almost like that of an animal. Her tears were so intense that her body seemed ready to collapse in on itself. Henny knew crying would not help, but she could not stop herself. There seemed nothing to do but cry, with Micah in so sorry a state. Why, her body seemed to be growing colder with every passing second. Micah's blood however, was very warm, and still she continued to spill it. Also, hopefully you're doing okay, Ryu. Get lots of rest. Hopefully it goes away. Hopefully it goes away soon. Hi, Wine. Oh, God. Magdalena, for her part, was immobile in a manner which almost echoed Micah's. Her eyes were so wide that they seemed all whites. Her body quivered, fingers curling into fists at her side as she murmured, "This can't be happening. I don't believe it. I don't want to believe it. Oh, Micah." Now this is an intriguing development. Heidemarie surveyed Magdalena archly, one hand resting upon her hip. Her right hand was still daubed up to the wrist in Micah's blood, which had now begun to congeal. Though Heidemarie had been the one to deal Micah that fatal blow, she did not seem particularly moved by Micah's grisly fate. Lips pursed, she said in a voice cold enough it made Magdalena shudder, "I didn't think that you'd be so upset by Micah's injury, vampire. Did you not intend to drain her like this yourself?" "I only sped the process along, though what occurred was rather unfortunate." I meant to help her, not harm her." "I don't care what you meant. Whether you meant to help her or not is irrelevant now. Look what you've done." "How could you?" "How could I?" Heidemarie raised an eyebrow. "You forget, vampire, that you are the one who kidnapped her. I never would have been summoned here were it not for your actions. You are the one who is to be blamed for this mess." "Why, I didn't even mean to hurt her. I was trying to go after you, but she got in the way. I have no idea why she wanted to protect you. She must have some very strange ideas about her kind. Doesn't she know that we vampires are stronger than any humans could ever hope to be, especially a weak, willowy-limbed woman such as herself? If I hadn't adjusted the angle of my attack in time, I would have pierced her heart. Then she would not be breathing at all." But of course Micah knows about vampires. We spent enough time together that she should know full well my strength eclipsed hers, and yet... Magdalena grit her teeth together, overcome by the intensity of her own emotions. "She knew that, but she still came between us. She must have meant to protect me. Micah has always been like that. She's thoughtful to a fault, to the point of self-sacrifice. Why did she have to play at being a heroine? She should have known that things would end up like this. Oh, Micah, you fool." Magdalena couldn't cry, but her shoulders shook regardless. Her face twisted anew, not with anger, but with grief, as she pressed her hands to her face. "You're right. I might have lashed out at you, but the fact remains that Micah wouldn't be in this situation if it wasn't for me. I'm the one who put her in danger. This is all my fault. I never wanted to harm her, but..." Another dry sob wrenched its way from Magdalena's throat, one so intense she had to squeeze her eyes shut. The smell of blood hung in the air, dense and heavy. Magdalena could smell it when she inhaled, tasted upon her tongue. The blood was like that of a siren song. It was sweetly intoxicating, but the knowledge it belonged to Micah made Magdalena's stomach turn. How will I ever make amends for what I've done? Oh, Micah, you sweet, idiotic, adorable little fool. There was no need for you to leap to my defense. I'm no hopeless damsel. Micah, please! Henny, who was kneeling on the ground, continued to shake Micah to little avail. Micah's breath was beginning to wear thin, even as Henny implored her to open her eyes, to take her hand, to live on despite the odds. "Please don't leave me! Don't go! I couldn't bear it!" Magdalena stiffened anew as Henny spoke. She sounded so desperate it mirrored her own feelings well. She didn't want Micah to die either, but what was she to do? "What is the point in living as long as I have if I know not how to help the people I care about the most? What in the world am I to do?" Heidemarie, who remained arch despite Henny and Magdalena's evident distress, only sniffed. "There is something you can do, you know, if you wish to save her as you claim." "What?" Magdalena drew her hands from her face, then raised her head to meet Heidemarie's gaze. "What are you referring to exactly?" "Must I elaborate further? You must know already, vampire, given your nature. Do not tell me you have not considered the possibility of turning her." "You mean I ought to make her into one of us?" "I did not say that you ought to, only that you could." If you care about this human woman as much as you seem to, then you could still save her. You need only to bite her neck and drain some of her blood. That should be enough to change her. Her heart might stop beating, but she'll still be alive, in a sense at least. You should be fast about it though, if that's what you desire. I don't think she has much time left. We cannot transform corpses, only the living. But I suppose you must know that already? Of course I do. You don't need to explain it as though I am a child. I've thought about turning her, of course. Believe me, I have. But do you really think I could go forward with such a great act of selfishness? You think it would be selfish to spare her life? Yes, I do. I would be sparing her from nothing if I turned her into a vampire. I would accomplish nothing save making her suffer. I don't want Micah to die, but I want even less to condemn her to eternal death without the reprieve of resting, not unless she were to will it. If these are my only two choices, then I would rather let Micah pass peacefully. But I would far rather see her live on as a human woman. I just want her to be happy. I see. So that's how it is, hmm? Hyde-Marie replied after a brief pause, one hand now resting beneath her chin. I had wondered about your precise relationship with the poor dying Fraulein, but it seems like it was more than that of a captor and a captive. You might have kidnapped her for nefarious purposes, but it seems you really did grow to care for her. That you have no desire to turn her speaks volumes for your character. You aren't the sort of monster who would condemn others to a hollow, empty life of eternal undeath, such as those who sunk their fangs into us all those decades prior. Vampire though you are still capable of rational thoughts. Perhaps that's why the clumsy young Fraulein jumped to your defense as she did. She must have seen there is something within you worth saving. I can't hate you after hearing your response, and neither do I wish to harm you. I would rather this story end on a cheerful note too. This rarely happens in my line of work, so... Hyde-Marie clicked her fingers, then glanced sharply at Johann. You know what to do, my charming assistant. Please, make yourself useful. But of course, I am always ready and willing to serve. If I might be able to help Lady Micah, then I shall do all I can to ease her suffering. That is my duty as a humble servant of the Lord. It was with these words on his lips that Johann bent down by Micah's side. Ayo? Like, I got stuff happening now? So why exactly is Hyde-Marie not killing Magdalena now that she has the perfect opportunity? Well, that explains it. Because she initially came here thinking that Magdalena was like an evil, mindless, blood-sucking vampire. But in reality, Magdalena has a lot of her mental faculties. So now she's like, I don't really need to kill you because, you're not really a threat to humans. Reaching down, he captured between his fingers one of Micah's limp, pale wrists and offered Henny a small smile. Oh, that blue coloring. Please forgive me, Frau Henrique. I don't mean to disturb you, but I must if I am to aid her. I will try to be quick about it, though. She has lost an awful lot of blood. I can see that myself, but... what do you mean to do to her, exactly? I mean only to aid her, if I can. I have helped others before in similar circumstances, almost as dire as this. I fear this may be a challenge, though. It may take me some time and no small amount of concentration. Might I ask that you hush so I can carry out my work uninterrupted? Of course you may, if that will help my Micah, but I fail to see what can be done for her. You don't have any training as a physician, do you? Please, Hyde-Marie scoffed. Johann's capabilities aren't half so prosaic. He has no need for a needle and a thread to sew together his patients, even unfortunates such as your Lady Micah. Johann has several unique capabilities which normal humans do not possess. He is so very pure and goodly, you see. His hands exude a sort of energy, I suppose you might term it, or else magic? You know that I don't hold with magic. It smacks of the devil. I would prefer to think of my abilities as a gift, or else a blessing, bestowed upon me by God up on high. Yes, I know. Goodness, you're so picky about these things, Johann. I don't think the semantics matter awfully myself. I've been alive too long to care for such petty things, but you humans are also sensitive. I wasn't trying to insinuate that you have been touched by the devil. You're too much a do-gooder for that. Why, thank you. I will take that as a compliment, I suppose. It wasn't meant as one. You're so very kind, you make my stomach turn. You would say that, loving chaos as you do, you can never pass up on a chance to make others uncomfortable. And what of it? I believe I've earned that right after living for so many centuries. Life gets boring, you know, if one is always trying to be nice. I suppose that is something you wouldn't know, though, not having dwelt upon this earth for all that long. I'm glad of that, too, if living for as long as you have would warp me into a ne'er-do-well such as yourself. You would call me a ne'er-do-well? How cutting! My poor heart bleeds. Your heart can't bleed. There's no blood left in it. Your body dried out a long time ago. And now you mean to call me a husk? Hyde-Marie drew back in a display of faux offense, her arms folded. Well, I never. As Hyde-Marie and Johann bickered, Henny looked to Micah with a pale face, perturbed by her mistress's plight. Micah receives a heavenly blessing? She could see, even as she sat there, a strange celestial light beginning to gather about Johann's fingers. The light spread over Micah's body, imbuing it in an otherworldly glow which made Henny gasp. Goodness, I don't fully understand what it is you are doing, but you are healing my mistress? Healing? Is such a thing truly possible? It is with my God-given gift, yes. I have the ability to diminish aches and pains with nothing more than a touch of my hand, which is why I work with Hyde-Marie. It is my duty to keep an eye on her, and to aid any unwitting victims who may get caught up in the crossfires of battle. She is not given to restraint, as you might have noticed. Here, Johann sighed. It is harder for me to heal wounds such as this, though, particularly when so much blood has been lost. I need to concentrate if I am to have any hope of succeeding. Oh, yes, of course. Please forgive me. I have never seen anything like this before, so I was curious. But if this will help Micah, you can do whatever it is you want. Whatever, Hyde-Marie smiled thinly. I would be careful when issuing such words forth in the future, Fraulein. You give Johann rather too much leeway. Fortunately for you, he's kind enough not to take advantage, but you might not be so lucky when it comes to the machinations of others. Hyde-Marie snickered unpleasantly while Johann continued to work. He gripped Micah's wrist tight and bowed his head, his lips pursed together in silent prayer while he worked. Henny, meanwhile, could only watch, wide-eyed, still holding onto Micah's crumpled form. It seemed impossible that Micah might be restored to her senses after having been so grievously injured. Why, it would take a real miracle to save her. That was what Henny thought, but weren't Johann's healing hands miraculous in and of themselves? Henny had never before heard of any humans who possessed such powers, and she felt rather overwhelmed by it all. She did not begrudge Johann for aiding her mistress, but it unnerved her all the same. Despite Johann's assertions that his abilities had been bestowed upon him by God, there was something unnatural about the light which emanated from him. Henny had half a mind to pull Micah away from him, and so to sever the connection established between her mistress and the grim-faced father, but this would result in disaster. Johann seemed to be the only person capable of aiding her. As such, Henny had little choice but to allow him to work, despite her own misgivings. Henny closed her eyes, cradling Micah's head upon her lap, and internally she prayed. Please, Henny prayed with a fervor she had not felt for quite some time, not since escaping Lord and Lady Von Essen's carriage with Micah in tow. Let my Micah be safe. Please, let her open her eyes. Let her draw in breath anew without having to struggle for it, and lessen the burden which weighs upon her body. Please, let her get better. Henny prayed and she prayed and she prayed as the seconds elapsed. So entrenched in her own thoughts, her surroundings slipped away. The stench of blood in the air no longer weighed upon her, neither did the anxious beating of her own heart within her breast. She forgot about Magdalena, who stood still as a statue, and of Hyde-Marie, who watched with the idle curiosity of a bystander, and even about Johann, whose fingers still clasped Micah's wrist. She thought only of Micah, her mistress, and her friend both. She recalled the times they had spent together when they had been younger, and their ill-fated excursion into the Von Essen family crypt which had incurred Lady Von Essen's ire. She recalled walks through the Von Essen family's estate, their arms looped together as if they were promenading ladies, and of sitting by the riverbank in the summer months when the dragonflies were out and about. She recalled games of Joker played in Micah's bedroom, and the shy, whispered secrets Micah had shared with her late at night when nobody else had been around. She recalled Micah's fears about marrying Walter Gerhardt, and how she had trembled when she had confided these feelings in Henny. Henny had been dismissive of Micah's worries back then. She had tried to cheer Micah up, to tell her that things would not be so bad once she had settled in, but now Henny feared she had been callous. Had she upset Micah by failing to pay proper heed to her concerns? Henny wished that she could apologize for any hurt she might have caused. She wished she could have told Micah how much she meant to her. She wished... Oh, there was so much she wished for, and so much she wished to say. But what she wished for, most of all, was that Micah would recover. Henny clung to this hope as though it were a talisman, her eyes tightly shut. Her desperate desire burned within her, brighter than any star, intense enough to be all-encompassing. She prayed and she prayed and she prayed, and eventually... Henny? Henny heard her name being called in a sweet, soft cadence she recognized only too well. The voice was weak, devoid of any real energy, but still, it was enough to soothe Henny of all her anxious thoughts. Henny's eyes snapped open. Fitfully, she stared down at the woman who lay upon her lap. Micah! Oh my Micah! Micah's own eyes were still closed, but upon her lips she wore a small smile, one which marred only slightly with pain. Her nightgown was still spattered with blood, but Henny could see that her wound had healed, her skin, visible through her torn nightgown, unblemished. Johann had succeeded after all, despite his earlier cautions. He had healed her. Micah was safe. Oh, thank goodness! I'm so relieved! Micah! My Micah! Henny... Micah squeezed Henny's hand with her own, as though to reassure her, and it was this gesture, so selflessly sweet and so very Micah, which tipped Henny over the edge. She slumped forwards, her shoulders shaking. Then she began to cry. Magdalena, too, was surveying the scene which unfolded before her with wide eyes. Pressing one hand to her mouth, she exclaimed softly, Micah, oh Micah, I can hardly believe it. I was so worried about you. If you had died, oh. A shudder ran through Magdalena's body as, overcome, she sunk to the floor. I don't know if I could have endured it. I have no idea what I would do without you. I'm so sorry you suffered so much. I'm sorry. Magdalena pressed both her hands to her face anew, though she had no tears to hide, and began to sob soundlessly, her shoulders trembling as if she were a polar explorer caught in a frigid blizzard. Heidemarie, for her part, watched on, her arms folded. Her right hand was still dark with Micah's blood, yet she paid it little heed. Observing Magdalena's sobs, she said softly, It would appear that this vampire isn't half as dangerous as I first thought. The little vampire I incapacitated upstairs was much more threatening than she is. Now that she has been taken care of, the older one should have no need to continue procuring victims to satiate her bloodlust. I wonder... Heidemarie? Johann rose on unsteady legs, wearied after his efforts to revitalize Micah, then approached his charge. Are you having second thoughts? Heidemarie nodded. Tell me, Johann, would you think me awfully weak-willed if I chose, just this once, to spare our quarry's life? It would be surprisingly sentimental coming from you, but... It's rare, in our line of work, that we are able to usher in endings as happy as this. Lady Magdalena seems to have no further desire to harm you. As such, you have no reason to engage her in further combat. In circumstances as unique as these, I do not think there is any reason for you to execute her. That is precisely what I was thinking. She's not doing anything wrong, as far as I can gather, other than existing. Yet I know better than anybody that we vampires do not ask to be made as we are. We have little choice in the matter. I believe this poor, conflicted creature is a victim, not a monster, and ought to be treated accordingly. I am not completely devoid of feelings, and I do know how to sympathize with the plights of others. I cannot help but feel sorry for this poor Fraulein. Heidemarie clicked her tongue, considering, then smiled. Very well, then. I shall spare you. Let us report to our superiors in the church that we slew the monster in this abode, and she will no longer be an issue. We needn't tell them about Fraulein Magdalena here. She is no monster. I doubt the church will come all the way out here to corroborate our tale, not unless the Fraulein here gets peckish and starts picking off more travelers. If you can keep your consumption of human flesh to a minimum, then nobody need know you are here at all. You can continue to live, if indeed your continued existence can be termed as such, and everybody will be happy. Isn't that nice of me? What? Magdalena stared at Heidemarie, shaking like a newborn deer. Will you truly let me go? Indeed, I shall. I'm tired of spilling blood, and it looks like you haven't had much to drink for a while regardless. In your current state, you wouldn't be much fun to play with. I doubt you'd have more than a few droplets of blood of your own to spill anyway. But you were sent here to kill me. I think I almost deserve it, when I think about everything I've done. I've killed dozens, no, hundreds of people. Only hundreds? Hyde-Marie scoffed. Don't make me laugh. I have killed far, far more. Don't forget, I have been alive longer than you, and have feasted far more solely to satisfy my own greed. I am the more amoral of the two of us, yet I continue to live. Who's to say you shouldn't? I am in no position to judge you. Ha, now that is fun. Now that's funny. Magdalena laughed dryly, without humor. Isn't it your job to judge godless beings such as myself, executor of the church? On paper, I suppose, but I don't think of myself as being all that important. I've never been one to care about right or wrong. I only do what amuses me. Fighting you as you are wouldn't be fun at all, not when I know how pathetic you are. It would feel too much like kicking a poor, defenseless puppy. Pathetic, am I? You are, yes, but don't look so put out by that. Most vampires are pathetic in comparison to me. Hyde-Marie tittered, then spoke anew in a voice which was a touch more serious. It was rather naughty of you to harm so many innocents, but I presume you did so only to feed that child you were so saddled with. You didn't partake in any of the spilled blood yourself, did you? No, I couldn't. Seeing Crystal feed turned my stomach. I knew I had no desire to end up like her, a slave to my desires. I thirsted for blood too, like all vampires do, but I've never once drank the blood of a human. Oh, wow! I feed only on the blood of wild animals. All those people I killed, the bandits and the brigands and the vagrants, were offered up to Crystal. I had a hunt for her. I had no choice. Without me, she would have died. I understand that, but I think killing her might have been for the best. Surely you knew that she was a lost cause? Yes, I believe you did realize it. You must have, serving her for as long as you did. Keeping her alive at all was an act of cruelty when she had no sensible thought left in her head and no purpose for living, save satisfying her own perverse hunger. But it is no matter. I believe you suffered enough, and I know your heart was in the right place. I won't condemn you for your actions. I have no place to. Your enduring loyalty to your mistress, though misguided, was somewhat touching. It is almost enough to bring a tear to my eye. Or, at least, it would be, if I could I cry. Now, Hyde-Marie looked to Johann, a small smile playing about her lips. I believe our work here is done. We have defeated the vicious vampire, and peace has summarily been restored. I have no desire to wait it out while the heroines of the story make amends, so shall we depart? I would hate to get in the way of their joyous reunion. And you are in dire need of rest yourself, Johann. You look half dead upon your feet. I cannot argue with that. I feel awfully weak. I'm unsure whether I can make the journey back to Augsburg unassisted. It's fortunate for you, then, that you have me to help you. You may lean on my shoulder, if you wish, and I can guide you. Is that not kind of me? Oh, yes, very much so. Your thoughtfulness knows no bounds. That's what I thought. Hyde-Marie snickered. The pair of us shall soon be departing. Do you wish to come with us, Fraulein? This question she addressed to Henny, who knelt on the floor by Micah's side still. Or would you rather stay here to tend to your mistress? I believe she'll be in safe hands with Magdalena, but I've no doubt you're also worried about her welfare. Oh, yes, I must thank you both for leading me to Micah, and you, Johann, for helping her, but I can't come back with you. Micah needs me to stay with her, and she's in no fit state to travel. I'll stay here with her for as long as she needs me, unless... Henny looked at Magdalena, abashed. You would have a problem with that. I forget, this is your home. You overstep your mark, young maid. You have forgotten your courtesy and your concern. But I suppose I can't begrudge you for that. I know how it feels to worry for my own mistress, and Micah is far sweeter than Crystal ever was. I will let you stay here, if you wish to tend to Micah while she rests. As a fellow human, you would be better served to care for her than I am. My attempts, I fear, would be quite clumsy. I have no say in whether you stay or leave. This is not truly my home, nor has it ever been. I am no lady. I was only ever pretending. Oh, thank you, Magdalena. Thank you very much. I promise I'll do everything I can to help Micah. I won't let her condition worsen, not under my watchful eye. I'm quite certain that you will. You needn't reassure me. The relationship shared between you two is very special indeed. While it's nothing more than Crystal's maid, I can see that you are, truly, Micah's friend. Why, it is enough to make me feel almost jealous. I fear I could never compete with that. That's all right. I don't think we need to compete. We both care about her after all, and like they say, two heads are better than one. I think Micah will recover much better if we're both there for her. What do you say? I think after everything that has happened, I'm very tired. Would you mind escorting me to my room? I need to lie down. Oh, of course. Let me help you to your feet, Micah. You come too, Magdalena. Help me lift her. You're a lot stronger than me, so this should be easy for you. Now that is funny. What is? I thought you would balk at the prospect of me touching your precious Micah. In the past, perhaps, I would have, but you have proven how much you care for her. You wouldn't have cried for her sake otherwise. Now come, let's not beat about the bush. Micah needs us. Yes, dear Lena. Please come and help me. Hen can support me on her own. I fear I'm hopelessly heavy. Don't keep your distance, please. That would break my heart. Magdalena looked between Micah and Henny, one hand clasped to her chest. She inhaled, her lips pursed, then said with a sigh, "Oh, Micah, I'm so glad to hear you say that." Magdalena stepped forth, and with Henny's aid, not that it was necessary, she was able to raise Micah to her feet. Both women shifted her gently so as not to harm her, each taking one of Micah's pale arms about their shoulders. While all this occurred, Hyde-Marie smiled, then turned upon her heel. Let us be on our way. There is nothing which can be gained by us continuing to stand here. I know not about you, but I have no desire to stand around gawping. Right, I'm coming, Hyde-Marie, but don't walk too quickly. Please spare a thought for me. Hyde-Marie crossed the airy entrance hall, then pushed open the imposing double doors with but a brush of her tiny, seemingly insubstantial palms. The doors opened with a low creak, like that of an injured animal, and the chill night air rushed forth to greet her. She paused for a few moments upon the threshold of the door to look back at Micah, who was being held aloft by Henny and Magdalena. Despite their differences, Hyde-Marie thought that the three women looked awfully close, just like sisters. This thought brought a smile upon the young vampire's lips. Not even the loving wind could disturb. She did not wait, however, to watch as the unlikely trio proceeded up the extravagant staircase. She turned anew, satisfied that she had performed her job, and stepped out into the night. Johann followed along behind her, limping, and shut the door behind him. The door creaked once more, then slammed shut with a tremendous thud. This thud echoed throughout the cavernous hall of Magdalena's home, once deserted, but now full of life. Crystal's corpse still lay in her bedchamber, turning cold, but Magdalena's thoughts were with Micah as she held her, and Henny as she helped her. The night had been one of horrors, but Micah was still alive, as too was Magdalena's hope in the future. Maybe God had not forsaken her after all. Finally, the clouds in her heart had departed, and now she was free. Working together, both Henny and Magdalena were able to escort Micah up the stairs, then across the hallway to her bedroom. Let me see, it's been a hot minute. Magdalena did not need Henny's help, but she appreciated the other woman's presence, if only because it let her know that Henny had accepted her. She seemed to have recognized in the wake of Magdalena's breakdown that Magdalena had grown to care for Micah. Magdalena might have been the instrument which had brought about Micah's suffering, but she had not done so willingly. Henny seemed to understand that, and, by extending the olive branch, seemed prepared to offer her forgiveness. It no longer seemed to matter much what Magdalena had done to Micah, not when Micah was still alive. Henny and Magdalena both laid Micah upon her bed, and there she lay, her front dark lay with dark blood? I forgot what it say. No, back. Her front dark with dried blood. Yes, okay. Yeah. Henny wet a cloth in the basin by Micah's bedside, then wiped said blood away. As she did, Magdalena soothed Micah, reassuring her in gentle tones that all would be well. I won't let anything hurt you. Not again. I have no further need of your blood. My mistress, she... Here, Magdalena's voice caught in her throat, and she had to look away. She is no more. No amount of blood could save her now. She is gone, but I am still here, as are you. And, oh, Micah, I'm sorry I put you through so many hardships. I'm so sorry. Micah was half conscious at this point, soothed by the cool flannel upon her bare skin and Magdalena's hand, so was barely able to offer Magdalena more than a small smile. It's all right. I forgive you for all of it, Lena. You do? Of course I do. I know that you never meant for me to suffer. I might have hated you at the beginning, but really... Micah yawned, exhausted, and let her eyelashes fall shut. Softly, she muttered in a voice which sounded like a sleepwalker's, You're a lot nicer than you give yourself credit for. So saying, Micah's consciousness slipped away once more, not owing to the pain this time, nor the loss of blood, but from simple exhaustion. She dozed, her body lighter than the fog, which unfurled its wispy tendrils about the forest floor, and as she did, she dreamed. In Micah's dreams, she saw herself with both Henny and Magdalena. The three of them were laughing and smiling in her mind's eye, as though they had always been close friends, nothing more than three ordinary women. In Micah's imagining, there was nothing to keep her and Magdalena apart. Henny gave the pair of them her blessing, smiling gently, as Magdalena took her hand once more. Then, upon her pursed lips, she pressed a soft, gentle kiss. While Micah lay in bed, tended to by both Magdalena and Henny, Johann had found himself in a rather precarious state. The ashen-faced father was always pale, yet now he looked paler than ever, even whiter than the moonlight, as he dragged himself through the darkened woods, his raven black hair melting into the surrounding shadows. Johann's face was white enough to be bloodless, his eyes half-lidded from an aggressive, intense pain which refused to abate. The mere act of walking made his breath catch in his throat. It was cold this deep in the woods, almost unbearably so, but Johann's brow was still marred with beads of sweat, his teeth clacking not from the cold but from pain. He wobbled as he walked, and Heidemarie had supported him, winding one slender arm around his waist to keep him upright. Easy there. Heidemarie spoke gently, more gently than one might have thought her capable of, given her nature, as Johann leant against her. It will be all right. I'm still here. I have you. To any onlooker, the current scene would certainly have appeared unusual, if not downright ridiculous. Johann was a good deal taller than the diminutive Heidemarie, yet he was leaning against her for support, was relying upon her to keep him upright as he tried to cut his way through the woods. Heidemarie seemed, at a glance, much too small and slight to aid Johann, and yet she did. She bore him with ease, her brow perfectly smooth, like the shell of an egg. Heidemarie had emerged from her spat with Magdalena and her mistress wholly unscathed. She had not needed to exert herself while accomplishing her grisly tasks, not when her victim had been in chains. Heidemarie had been able to pierce Crystal's heart with ease. The young vampire girl had not been able to offer up any fight, had simply cried instead as Heidemarie had dispatched her. Heidemarie had hoped that Magdalena might give her more of a fight, but this hope, too, had been scuppered. Micah had come between the two of them and had cut Heidemarie's fun short. She really was a funny woman, that Micah, so impulsive despite being a well-bred young lady. Maybe it was because of her red hair. Heidemarie had heard redheads tended to be tempestuous, that it was simply part of their nature. Perhaps it came from an excess of blood, an imbalance of the humors. Heidemarie did wonder, but it seemed silly to postulate on it for too long, especially when Johann was suffering so. Heidemarie, for her part, had never felt lighter. The full moon's light had imbued her with a dreadful, arcane sort of strength, so she could stalk through the woods with ease, could have frolicked, if she wished, through the foliage like a nymph or a dryad. Heidemarie knew she should not do this, however, even if it would have made a pretty picture. A young, slender-limbed girl dancing about the forest late at night, the dense fog swirling about her pretty ankles and her curls fluttering in the breeze. She had to stay to support Johann. He had worked hard that night, much, much harder than Marie herself had. For a mere human, one who was all awkward angles, high cheekbones, and long gangly limbs, he had pushed himself well past his limits. Johann had been able to maintain a veneer of composure when bidding farewell to Magdalena and Micah, and the potato-faced Fraulein who had first come to them for aid, but he no longer had the strength to cling to this carefully curated facade. He was fading, his body failing. Marie had known the moment her hand had rent Micah's chest asunder that the wound she had inflicted was a serious one. It had been apparent that it would require a significant degree of concentration for Johann to heal her. Micah's inner workings had, after all, been reduced to a fine red mist. Red mist! Uh-oh. A gruesome pate of bone and muscle. Marie had not fully believed when Johann had taken Micah in his arms that he would be able to heal her at all, but on this score she had been mistaken. Johann's faith had evidently been stronger than Marie's own. Johann had taken Micah to him, a sheep who had strayed from God's light, and he had done all he could to save her. He had poured his own life's essence into her, and in so doing, he had made Micah whole again. He had healed her, but at what cost? Marie had seen Johann utilize his curious powers on other occasions, had seen him set bones and soothe fevered brows, but never before had she seen him use his powers to close a wound as large as that. Marie did not think Johann himself had ever used his curious gift in such a manner, and now he was paying the price. Johann's gift might have been divinely granted. It was a skill he had possessed ever since he had been a young boy, but it did not come without its drawbacks. It required no shortage of mental fortitude for Johann to utilize his healing touch, and no shortage of strength too. Unfortunately for Johann, his strength had been in short supply for quite some time. He had spent the last 4 years working alongside Marie, and during these years he had acted as her primary source of sustenance. Whenever Marie hungered for blood, which was not quite so often as many of her kind, given her advanced age had whetted the worst of her appetite, she would turn to Johann. Johann's blood was quite unlike any Marie had ever tasted before. It was pure and it was rich, deeply nourishing, like a mug of hot cocoa served upon a sickbed. It was difficult for her, when she sank her teeth into Johann's pale neck, to stop, to regain her senses, to remember who she was. Perhaps it was because of Johann's miraculous abilities. One would have thought his innate ability to heal would have cut through his blood like poison, but it was not so. Johann's goodly power seemed to pulsate within his lifeblood, his veins full of the stuff. When Marie bit Johann's neck, she tasted miracles, sweets and lights like heavenly manna. Johann was simply too delicious for his own good, so much so Marie might have taken 1 or 2 liberties with him. She had drained his blood, of course, before their excursion into the woods, but perhaps she had taken too much of the stuff. Johann had tried to reassure her to the contrary, but when Marie had drawn her lips away from the white column of his throat, but Marie was no fool. She had seen, even if Johann had not wanted her to see, how he trembled when she drew back. Marie had bitten too deeply, had indulged too much, and Johann had already been weak when they had first ventured into the woods. It was to be expected, really, that Johann's body would now begin to fail him. Johann was a lanky, skinny man, and he did not have much in the way of physical stamina regardless. The years spent donating his blood to Marie had not helped, and neither had his liberal use of his healing powers. He had pushed himself to the brink of exhaustion once before, when he aided the young Becker girl, whose father had undergone a terrifying transformation come the full moon. Oh, werewolf? Johann had been able to reverse this wicked enchantment which had befallen the redhead Herr Becker, but not without sustaining considerable damage. So this was Anya's family. So I guess the rumors were that, like, her family, yeah, got, like, they got a werewolf, and that's why she likes Johann so much. He had been bedridden for a full week after that particular miracle, consumed with the fever that had left him delirious. Marie had sat with Johann while he had convalesced, and while his forehead had beaded with sweat, and his fingers had curled at the sheets, and she had wiped down his forehead, wondering all the while what she would do if Johann died. Who would the church next assign her, and would their blood be as delectable as Johann's? It had seemed unlikely. Back then, Heidemarie had not worried overly about Johann's own welfare. She had been more concerned about slaking her own thirst. Now, however... Now, Heidemarie could not help but feel a flicker of sympathy for the man who leant against her. It seemed almost unthinkable that Johann could have been brought so low when he had sustained no physical wounds, none save for twin punctures on his neck, the size of pinheads, concealed beneath the high collar of his robes. Heidemarie had seen Johann, initially, as nothing more than another handler, a convenient way of sourcing blood, yes, but mostly a nuisance who existed to bind her. In the early days of their meeting, their relationship had not been particularly cordial, but now... It's all right, Johann. I'm still here. Can you hear me? Now Heidemarie felt rather too attached to the dark-eyed, sallow-skinned father. She had not wanted to care for him, but what could she do? For all the centuries she had lived, Johann was one of the few people who did not seem to fear her, who spoke to her as an equal. For a human, he could be awfully saucy, but Heidemarie appreciated it. She had always enjoyed how much fight Johann possessed, how often he betrayed her expectations. He did so now, even, though he was on the brink of collapse, a smile playing about his lips despite his rapidly weakening state. Unfortunately, yes, I can still hear you. My faculties have not deserted me. Not completely, at least. Oh, and what do you mean by that? What could be so very unfortunate about hearing the angelic strains of my lovely voice, you silly man? Well, you know how it is. No, I don't know how it is. Would you mind elucidating? I want to know what exactly you mean by that. Though I fear you are not being at all polite. Well, your fears might have some basis in reality. I am grateful, of course, that you have thought to stay with me. It really is very kind. But I wish I did not have to hear you worry about me at all. I have no desire to be a burden. And worrying does not suit you either. What? Heidemarie glanced at Johann. She cocked her head inquisitively, like a little bird, and frowned. You think me incapable of caring about people, Johann? You were when I met you. You were so cold and so aloof, just like a little statue. How did you change so much? It really is a mystery. Heidemarie pressed her lips together into a line. She looked to Johann, her golden eyes skimming him up and down, and then... It isn't that much of a mystery. No? No, I might be old, but I am not immutable. I can still be moved, provided the right person comes along to move me, that is. You are so unlike anybody else I know. I fear I might have become somewhat fond of you, which is why I don't want you to die here. I won't allow it. Do you hear that, Johann? If you do perish, I shall be very cross with you. Is that so? Once again, Johann laughed, but it was a weak one which made his sloping shoulders shake. My apologies, then. I will endeavor to cling to life to the best of my abilities, but I fear it may be too late for me already. I am but a mere mortal. There is only so much I can endure. Yes, I know. You've endured so much already. Perhaps it was unreasonable, expecting you to walk all the way back to Augsburg, especially when... Johann winced, his body seized by a newfound paroxysm of pain. He shifted sideways, pressing yet more of his weight upon the diminutive Heidemarie, and she tutted. Especially when you're in such a state. Goodness. Perhaps you ought to sit down for a while, try to get your breath back. Would you like that? I fear it would only be delaying the inevitable, but if you insist... Johann smiled, though it was a strained smile, one which did not illuminate his dark eyes. I would hate to make you worry about me. Idiot. Heidemarie sat Johann down upon the stump of a nearby tree and skimmed a gloved hand against his face, wiped his brow free of sweat. Then she said, I always worry about you. How can I not, when you're nothing more than a human? Your kind is so very vulnerable. You try to act strong, yet your bravado really does make me wonder. How can you live life as you do, knowing how very fragile you are, knowing that your meager existence could be cut short? Here Heidemarie drew a hand across her throat. Just like that. How do you stand it? Now, that is a good question. I would expect nothing less from you, but... Let me see. I suppose I can live like this because this existence is the only one I have ever known, meager or not. I know I am not as hardy as a vampire, but I've never had any cause to envy you. How could I be jealous of something I have never had? Besides, Johann looked at Hyde Marie. His smile was crooked, but he smiled still as he said, his face horribly waxy. Envy is a sin. I would not wish to displease God, not when I have spent all of my life trying to serve him. Yes, that does make sense. You've always been an awful bootlicker, Johann. You would call my faith bootlicking. Well, what is it? You might act like an upstanding citizen, but I know the only thing you really care about is being called a good boy. You do good because you wish to feel good. You want to be praised for it, and you want to be accepted too. In that sense, you're awfully sycophantic. But you really should practice some moderation. You can't help everybody you meet. Some people are past saving. And now it's too late. You've given up too much of yourself in service of others, to your flock and to me. You feel caught out with the good boy thing? Hey, yo, hot chick? And now it's too late. You've given up too much of yourself in service of others, to your flock and to me and to God too. Hyde Marie looked at Johann, her expression impassive. Then, in a cool voice, icy, just like midnight frost, she said, At this point, it does not matter much what I want. You are going to die regardless. You do know that, don't you? Johann laughed wryly, though how he was able to summon up the strength to laugh at all was something of a mystery. He looked up at Hyde Marie, the little vampire girl to whom he had been so close, his dearest companion in all of the world, and said, Well, I am aware, but you can stand to mince your words a bit more. Why, it is almost as though you want me to feel bad. Perhaps I do. Perhaps I think you deserve to feel bad for putting me in such a bind. A bind? Of all the fathers I have been assigned to watch over me, you're by far the most amusing, and your blood was like none I have ever tasted before. When I think that you will die, and for what? That dowdy Fraulein and her silly, impulsive mistress, I can't help but feel disappointed in you. I know you did what you thought was right, so I shouldn't take you to task too much. But you did never stop to think about me. But did you never stop to think about me? Hyde Marie. Johann sighed. There was a moment's pause, a soft sigh as the wind blew through the trees, and then... Of course I thought about you. I think of you every day. How could I not, when I cherish your company so dearly? So why, then, did you decide to throw your own life away? Why are you abandoning me? I would not say that I am abandoning you, per se. I would simply be moving on to another plane of existence, where my soul might be free from my prison of flesh. Provided you will grant me such a peaceful ending, of course. I beg your pardon? What are you suggesting? I would suggest nothing. I would not wish to influence you, dear Hyde Marie, but you are right. It would be rather rude of me to pass away here and to put an end to our... friendship? Johann smiled crookedly. Are we friends? Well, I do not consider you an enemy. And neither do I, you. I am quite fond of you, as it happens, and I shudder to think about what would become of you if I did die. As mouthy as you can be, I always did get the feeling you were on your best behavior whilst in my company. I would not necessarily trust another to keep an eye on you. So perhaps it would be for the best if I remained upon this earth for just a little longer. I am sure there is more I have left to give, even if this were to stop my heart from beating. And I would not want you to be lonely. That is the real poison, after all, which tends to kill your kind, to drive you mad. Is that not right? Johann. Hyde Marie continued to examine Johann mutely, her fair curls shifting about her heart-shaped face. She inhaled, drawing in a breath she did not need to fortify her heart, which did not beat. She took a step forth. Then, taking Johann's shaking hand in her own, she said, Are you sure this is what you want? Well, I have no particular desire to die. That seems like a poor way of repaying the church for taking me in all those years ago, when I appeared on their doorstep. I am sure there is more work they would have me do. I can keep going. And things would be easier, would they not, if I wasn't such a... a weak and fragile human. Once again, Hyde Marie pressed her lips together. She examined Johann, saw the determination in his face, the furrow of his brow. She drank in his eyes, in particular, which were very dark, so brown they looked the carapaces. I know words of beetles set into his pale skin. Then, lightly, she laughed. Oh, Johann, I knew there was a reason why I liked you. You might be an awful do-gooder, but you know how to keep me on my toes. I never can predict what you are going to do or what you are going to say. And I think if you were to die here, it would be an awful waste. The world needs more men like you, Johann, whether your heart still beats or not. So please, allow me. Heidemarie leant down. She pressed her gloved hands to Johann's shoulders, her fingers curling against the dark fabric of his robes. Why do we get a bitey scene of these two? Why do we get a bitey scenes of these two and not the Yuri couple? She closed her eyes. Then, parting her lips, she said, I promise I'll be swift. I have a lot of experience, and the moon is very full tonight, and very round. The chances of you turning successfully are very high, given my long lineage, the light of the moon. This should not hurt. Well, not too much, at least. Wickedly, she smiled. Her incisors, filed down to sharp points, flashed in the moon's light. Then she dipped her head, taking Johann's fate between her teeth. And summarily shattering it like a piece of pottery. Okay. Cocked once again, Sam. Straight relationship in the Yuri VN. Micah lay unconscious for 2 days, tucked up in her bed, while Henny and Magdalena tended to her. Drained from her brush with death, she drifted, unaware of how tightly Magdalena held her hand throughout her convalescing. Micah knew not, as she slumbered, that Magdalena sat beside her, praying to a god she did not believe in for her safety. But when she finally awoke, shaking off her exhaustion as a duck ruffles his feathers free from water, she soon learned of the anxiety her slumber had caused. It was early in the morning when Micah opened her eyes. It was cloudy and overcast, and only weak rays of sunlight could spill through the moth-eaten holes in the fabric, all pale and washed out thanks to the bower of clouds which hung in the sky. Henny sat at a chair by Micah's side, and when she saw Micah's eyelashes flutter, she cried, Oh, Micah! My Micah! I'm so relieved! Henny. Micah looked at Henny askance. Her head was pounding fit to burst, and her thoughts, which were far too numerous, seemed to weigh heavily upon her like rocks. Weak though the sunlight was, it stung her eyes, and she winced. The pain which had pierced her following Heidemarie's attack had vanished, but now she ached all over, her arms and her legs feeling horribly leaden. These aches at least reassured Micah that Henny's anxious face was not a fabrication of her addled imagination. This could not be a dream, for she felt too uncomfortable. It took a considerable amount of effort for Micah to sit up in bed. She winced as she did so, and Henny had to lean in to aid her. Careful, Micah. Don't push yourself now. You really have been through the wars. Oh, yes. How could I forget? Micah smiled wearily. I apologize. I'll try to be more careful. Yes, you do that. I'd hate for your wounds to reopen. Though, come to think of it, I'm not entirely sure if that's possible. Johann did quite the thorough job. There aren't any scars. I can't even see any bruises. You don't look like you were injured at all. It really must have been a miracle. A miracle, I suppose it must have been. He is a priest after all. Micah looked down at herself. She was wearing the same nightgown Magdalena had bequeathed to her, but the tear which had rent the middle of it had been sewn up. The stitches were neat, the thread white, so it was hard to tell from a distance any damage had been done at all. Micah recognized this neat needlework. Henny must have fixed this gown for her as she slept. Her maid really was dutiful down to the smallest of details. Micah placed one hand to her chest, trembling as she did so. She still remembered what had happened, exhausted though she was. She had come between Heidemarie and Magdalena, and she had been skewered for her best efforts, her blood splattering all over the carpet hall like spilled wine. That pain was not something she would forget in a hurry. Wincing, Micah looked away, and in so doing saw Magdalena. Magdalena was sitting beside Henny, her pale eyelashes closed, her lips pursed in silent slumber. Her hands rested upon her lap, and her head hung forwards, like that of a doll's. She was quite motionless, despite the weak sunlight which played about her pale skin, her even paler hair. Oh, Lena. Micah sighed, then turned to Henny, desperately seeking reassurance. Is she all right, Henny? She isn't ill, is she? Her? Henny glanced at Magdalena as though seeing her for the first time, then frowned. If she is ill, it's with nothing more than worry. You needn't fuss so. She's fine, at least as far as an undead being can be fine. She's just sleeping, and I don't blame her for it. She's been sitting at your side ever since we brought you up here. She's not had a single wink of sleep all this time, not until she dropped off a few hours earlier. Really? Micah's face flushed, touched at Magdalena's thoughtfulness. She cares for me that much? Ever so much. Her actions made it blindingly obvious. I'll admit, I didn't think much of her at first. Can you blame me after all she put you through? But my opinion of hers really turned around. I didn't think vampires could be so caring, but as plain as day, she adores you. And she was beside herself when you collapsed. She looked like, oh, I don't know, like a woman who lost all will to live. She fell onto the ground and then, well... Henny shook her head, then smiled. Why are you asking about Magdalena, Micah? After all you've been through, shouldn't you be more concerned about yourself? Maybe I should, but I worry regardless. I know I have you to care for me, Hen, and you do a wonderful job at it, believe me. But Lena, she hasn't had anybody to care for her for a long, long time. She's been all on her own. And that's why I have to worry about her. Nobody else will. My, you must like her an awful lot. And though I suppose you wouldn't have left to her defense if you didn't. You were just like a knight back then, Micah. You were just missing the sword and the shining armor. And the dignity. Micah smiled thinly. I caused quite a scene back then, as my mother might say, but I was so afraid I wasn't sure what else I was supposed to do. I could only think about helping Lena, but now I fear my rashness has hurt her. She's been in a bad way, I won't deny it, but the blame for that can't be laid wholly at your feet. I think she's been upset about the young mistress of hers too, and her death. It was all very sudden. She hasn't had nearly enough time to get to grips with it. Why, it's almost enough to make me feel sorry for her, and all this after she kidnapped you. I think she's quite the sorry creature herself. Her mistress? Maga's brow furrowed. She could remember her own agony clearly, but the events which had led up to her chest being cleaved were less lucid. Her thoughts were all disordered, like an unfinished jigsaw puzzle, and trying to slot every piece into its rightful place seemed almost like an impossibility. She thought she could recall, however, a faint memory which had imprinted itself upon her mind. She could remember the stench of blood. Henny had come to her bedroom while she had been in her nightgown and bade her to escape. Taking her hand, Henny had led through the hallway, Micah's bare feet pounding against the floor. Together, the two women had passed a large bedroom, its door ajar, and upon the bed Micah had seen... Micah winced, then pressed a hand to her mouth. Yes, she could still remember that. Micah let her eyes fall upon Magdalena once more, who continued to sleep. As Magdalena had no need for air, she slept quite soundlessly. Her chest did not rise, and neither did her eyelids tremble. In sleep, she really did look like a doll, one which was devoid of life. Her mistress wasn't that young girl we saw, was she? That's right. Magdalena talked to me a bit about her circumstances while we were both tending to you, but if you want to know more about her, you'd be best served asking her. I'm afraid I wouldn't be able to explain everything properly. It's awful complicated. Oh, well, look here now. Henny glanced at Magdalena, then drew back. She's beginning to stir. All our talk must have disturbed her. True to Henny's words, Magdalena was finally starting to shift. Her pale eyelashes fluttered, still drowsy from sleep. Her once still chest, meanwhile, rose and fell in a parody of breathing. It was unnecessary, of course. Being undead, Magdalena had no need to breathe, but it must have been an instinctive action, something which only seized when Magdalena's consciousness did. I think I'll make myself scarce for now, Micah. I'm sure you've a lot you'd like to talk about with Magdalena, and I'm sure she has a lot she'd like to talk about with you. She wouldn't stop talking about you, you know, while you were unconscious. I'm starting to worry she's even more devoted than I am. Henny withdrew, laughing softly as she did, but before she left the room, she paused to say, I'll be back to check on you later. I'm just glad, for the present, to know you're all right. I really was worried about you, Micah. The door closed behind Henny with a thud, leaving both Micah and Magdalena alone together. Magdalena was sitting up now, her red eyes wide, and with a sigh of relief she exclaimed, Micah, oh Micah, you're awake. Are you all right? Micah began, a response half formed upon her lips, but she hadn't had the time to fully formulate it before Magdalena flew to her. Micah felt fluttered at Magdalena's affections, and she wanted to relax into her hug, but... Ow! Micah tensed. Pain began to ripple through her every nerve ending on fire. Feeling Micah shudder and hearing her gasp of pain, Magdalena drew swiftly back, abashed. If Magdalena had possessed the ability to blush, her face would have surely have turned pink. Oh, I'm sorry, Micah. I was just so relieved. I've been watching you ever since you collapsed for the last 2 days or so. I barely slept at all. I know you have. Henny told me. Oh, she did she? Magdalena pouted. I ought to have expected that she would take the wind from my sails. That maid of yours is such a busybody. She was lecturing me, you know, to take better care of myself, as though I'm not a near immortal creature who has been alive for over a century. She talked to me like I was a hopeless young girl, or maybe a weak human like me? Yes, that's right, though I don't think you're weak at all, Micah. It was very brave of you to come between me and Hyde Marie like that. Though it was also very, very foolish. Well, I can see that now. It didn't occur to me at the time, though. What did occur to you then, pray tell? Only that I wanted to protect you. Protect me? Magdalena smiled, bemused, and shook her head. The sentiment is sweet, but you need protecting far more than I do, now more so than ever before. I'm starting to think it's no wonder that maid of yours is such a fusspot, having a mistress like you to deal with. Looking after you would turn anybody into an anxious wreck. I do wish she hadn't lectured me so, though. But I suppose she meant well by it. Henny always does. She's a sweetheart. She's always watched out for me ever since we were children. I could tell when I watched her tend to you. Her concern was palpable. It made me a little jealous, I must admit, to see another fuss over you so, and to know that she was the one alert when you finally did awake. I wished to be the first person to see you when you regained consciousness, but my foolish body betrayed me. I might be undead, but even I need my beauty rest. Yes, you do. You haven't been getting nearly enough of it. The bags under your eyes are frightfully dark. Oh, Micah. Magdalena smiled bashfully. Do you mean to admonish me too? I've been getting earfuls of it from that maid of yours already. You can rest assured, I've seen the errors in my ways. My caring for you might, I admit, have been too effusive. But how can I not worry when you mean so much to me? I was terrified for your sake. You humans are much too delicate for your own good. Magdalena brushed her fingertips against Micah's cheek, tracing the contours of her face. You really must be more careful in the future. If you were to sicken or to get hurt, it would destroy me, especially with that Henrique fussing over you so much. I started to feel distinctly like a third wheel. Lena? Micah smiled, touched by Magdalena's concern, and let her fingers rest upon Magdalena's. Don't tell me you're too horribly jealous of Henny. She is my only friend. She is only my friend. I know that, yet it hurts nonetheless to know she loves you so. Not that I can blame her. Who wouldn't love you, really, when you're so eminently lovable? I think you're exaggerating. Hardly. There's a lot to commend you for, though your intelligence might not be on the top of that list. Here, Magdalena smiled, as did Micah. The two women shared laughter, soft and pattering like falling rain. Micah subdued by the ache in her chest, which had yet to fully shift. Once the laughter had passed and Micah had reassured Magdalena that yes, she was all right, and no, her unexpected embrace hadn't hurt, not that much at least, Micah then dared to ask the question which had been playing upon her mind since she had woken. I was just wondering, when Henny tried to run away with me last night, or maybe it was the night before, I don't remember, my head is all a jumble. We passed an open bedroom, and inside, well, I saw a girl shackled to a bed, lying in the shadows. I didn't get a good look at her, but she seemed very young, and she had been very dead. I don't want to pry, and this might be a peculiar question, but was that small girl your mistress? Silence descended between the pair following this question. Micah glanced at Magdalena from beneath her eyelashes, and Magdalena glanced back, her face deadly pale. Oh, oops. You know what? I'll save. For a while, Magdalena was quiet, her lips pursed. Then, after heaving a small sigh, she spoke. Ah, yes, so it comes back to this. That girl. I thought you might ask about her, and for good reason. She was, indeed, my mistress, and she really was a poor thing. My mistress's name, that poor creature. She was called Crystal, though perhaps she had no need of that title after she was turned. Names are a courtesy only humans are granted, while she... Well, she might have looked like a person, but any humanity she might once have had was stolen from her a long time ago. She couldn't talk. I'm unsure whether she could even think, beyond thirsting for blood. She was less a girl than a force of nature. She was always hungry, and she was angry alongside it. It wasn't always that way, though. Crystal used to be a very sweet young girl, even though I can scarcely believe it myself. She changed so much, but it wasn't her fault. She didn't ask for any of this to happen, and neither did I. It was all very unfortunate. What happened? Micah posited this question quietly, her pale eyes upturned. Would you mind telling me how you and Crystal came to be vampires, and how you came to serve her for so many years? It's fine if you wish to keep it to yourself, but there's so much about you I don't know. I want to get to know you better, Lena. I know I won't be able to undo the past, but talking about it might help, unless you think I'm being presumptuous and asking too much of you. No, it's fine. I don't think you're overstepping your boundaries. How could you, after all we've done together? You know so much about me already. Spilling a few more of my secrets could hardly hurt at this point. But I'm not entirely sure where to begin. At the start, maybe? With my birth to a poor yet happy family in Inningen of little note or consequence. That is to go very far back indeed. More than a century ago. I would not only get sentimental if I start to talk of my mother and father, not that I could cry over them even if I wanted to, so I think I'll spare you all that. I think I'll begin instead at... let's see. Maybe it would be best to commence my tale when I first met Crystal. Magdalena shifted in an attempt to make herself a touch more comfortable before beginning her tale in earnest. I was only 15 years old at the time, and naive for my age. Perhaps I was too young to work, but my parents needed the money, and girls younger than I often went into service. It's not so very different now, or so I've gathered, after speaking to Henrique. Does that mean you were a maid? Indeed, I was. I was a maid, and I worked in this mansion years and years prior, for Crystal's family, the von Schlieffens. That was before this house had fallen into rack and ruin, before the hallways were thick with dust, before the air reeked of death. I was young and fresh-faced, and Crystal... She was not yet 3 years old when I began to work here, and during my employment I watched her grow. She wasn't particularly pretty, bless her. She was horribly shy. She used to shrink away from the other maids, but she had a soft spot for me. She would sit with me while I was cleaning sometimes, though her parents had warned her against it, and I would try to cheer her up. She was neglected by her parents. When they spoke to her, it was only to chastise her, and she didn't have any friends her own age to play with, nor any siblings. I think she was lonely. That must have been why she sought out my company. I was one of the younger maids who worked for the von Schlieffens, and I tried to pay her especial attention. She rarely smiled around anybody else, but my silly stories and jokes were able to make her laugh. She wasn't pretty, like I said, but when she smiled... Magdalena sighed, then shook her head. I so badly wanted to protect her smile. I had 2 younger sisters of my own, and Crystal reminded me of them. I suppose I've always been protective, and I took it upon myself to look out for her. Eventually, even her aloof parents took notice of their daughter's attachment to me, and they decided to make me Crystal's nursemaid. Crystal hadn't gotten along very well with her previous nursemaids. She'd been sullen and sulky with them, and sometimes she even bit them. Wow. Biting from a young age before becoming a vampire. Perhaps that was a portent for what was to later come. But I can't blame Crystal for lashing out. She was constantly being pushed around at the whims of others. As a lady yourself, I imagine you know how she must have felt, rattling around in this empty house on her lonesome. Yes, I can imagine it. My childhood was much the same, though I never bit anybody. I used to climb the trees in the garden, though, and pick the blackberries in the summer, and once I sneaked into my family's mausoleum. My mother was furious with me. I knew she would be, but I did it all the same. I think I was tired of listening to her all the time. It was stifling. I suspect it was the same for Crystal, this house. Magdalena gestured about Micah's bedroom, at its high ceiling and the wide window with the drawn curtains, through which the gray garden could be seen. It might be large, but it's lacking in warmth. It was cold even then, when it was full of people. It was nothing more than a cage. Crystal couldn't stand it. In fact, I rather think she despised it. She was at her happiest when the two of us were walking through the garden hand in hand, and she could be free of the servants and her parents and all their guests. Crystal and I became so close I would even accompany her when her parents attended luncheons or soirees further afield in Augsburg and beyond. The von Schlieffens were well known, and they were much in demand. If they didn't have half of Bavaria staying here, they would be paying visits to the nobility all across the county. These near-constant festivities occurred for 3 years, until an unfortunate event put paid to them quite quickly. Magdalena paused, now one hand resting against the base of her throat. Her expression was pensive, her brows furrowed, and it took her a few moments before she gathered the thread of her tale once more. It was on a dark, stormy night. Don't these stories often begin like that? When it happened. The von Schlieffens were returning home after visiting a noble family in Regensburg, I think. It's been so very long, I don't remember. The von Schlieffens didn't often take Crystal with them when they went on their excursions, but I believe they had stayed with these people for over a week of festivities. Perhaps there was a special occasion, maybe a wedding. I had been ordered to come with them to keep an eye on Crystal, who was too young for dancing and drinking. I remember the carriage was wending its way through the forest. It was a cold, foggy night, and the moon was full in the sky. It was round, just as it was a few nights prior, like a giant eye. Crystal had fallen asleep and was lying her head upon my lap. I was trying to stay awake myself, but I was also beginning to doze. It was well past midnight, and I was tired, and we had been traveling for hours and hours. A handful of other servants had come with us to attend to the von Schlieffens, but they were in a different carriage. We were almost at our host's home, at least I think we were, when it happened. Magdalena's expression darkened, her fingers clenching into fists upon her lap. We were attacked while we were in the forest, not by bandits as you were, but by a being much more sinister. It all happened so quickly I wasn't sure what had happened. It was only later, with the gift of hindsight, I can say what must have occurred. It was a vampire. They must have been desperate, attacking a carriage full of people with impunity. 2 carriages, in fact, but I suppose they knew humans would be no match for them, no matter how many they were. Perhaps they were not desperate then, but lashed out solely because they could, because it amused them to do so. I have no idea. I cannot say. It happened so quickly I never saw the face of the creature who attacked us, not for more than a few moments. I don't even know whether they were a man or a woman. All I know is, at one point, the carriage was wending its way through the woods, unmolested, and the next... Magdalena's voice trailed off, while fingernails sank into her thighs. She inhaled, perhaps gathering her nerve and her scattered thoughts, before saying, I knew something was wrong when I woke up. I hadn't thought that I would ever wake again. I was in so much pain. The darkness had seemed absolute when I fainted, but I soon realized this was not the case. I was lying upon the forest floor among the strewn, scattered leaves like a discarded doll. My head hurt, and so did my limbs. There was an awful taste in my mouth, and I think I vomited. I don't remember. Being drunk while watching smiling friends with the bros is such a mood. What the heck? Hope you're having a good time, I guess? I do remember feeling that something was wrong, though, that I wasn't myself. I pressed a finger to my neck and found 2 marks there which perforated my skin. That shook me, but even then, what happened didn't fully register until I pressed my fingers to the inside of my wrist. I thought I was being silly, fantasizing maybe. I had always been one to get swept up in my own daydreams until I realized I didn't have a pulse. My skin was cold to the touch and hard. It felt like marble. That was when I realized that, though I had opened my eyes and I appeared to live on, I was not the same Magdalena I had been, and I wasn't really alive either. I was dead. I didn't need to breathe, and my heart didn't beat, but I could still think, and sit up, and walk. It was quite the shock, but I came to terms with it more quickly than you might think. I had come to terms with it, lying in the middle of the forest as I was. I had no other choice. I don't know how I knew, but I was grimly aware that, should the sun rise while I was still outdoors, I would turn to ashes. I looked around and soon found the carriage I had been traveling in. It had been tipped to one side, and Lord and Lady von Schlieffen were still inside it, their bodies mangled. They were dead, at least, properly dead, unlike me. I didn't need to check their pulses to tell. The other servants they had traveled with had been similarly dispatched. Some were in one piece, but others had been butchered, I suppose is the only word for it. Bits of them were strewn everywhere. Why had I been bitten so cleanly? I know not. If my assailant had torn me apart like they had the others, I doubt I would have been able to sit back up again. But never mind that. No good will come of trying to guess the motives of my attacker. I don't know who attacked us or why they spared me, in a sense. It was probably a whim. I wasn't the only one who survived this assault either, though I wish I was. I found her lying upon the forest floor, unconscious, her arms and legs bent at broken angles. I thought she was dead, but when I reached out to feel her pulse, she shifted, and that was when I knew Crystal had died, but she was still alive. She had been turned, and she was only 6 years old. Magdalena winced at this and reached for her chest. There her fingers twisted, as though seeking to wrench out her own heart, which no longer beat. I was able to retain much of my rationality after I was turned into a vampire, but my young mistress was less fortunate. The sweet, shy, stubborn girl I knew had vanished when she woke up. She had lost all her sense of right or wrong, and knew nothing save her own insatiable lust for blood. Her desire was so intense, I think it overwhelmed all her other senses. She could no longer talk upon waking, could no longer smile. She was out of control. I did not realize that, however, until I took her back to her home. We made it back before the first rays of the sun rose, with me carrying Crystal on my back. She had been half asleep as I carried her, and had been docile enough, but she changed when we returned to her old abode. There were still servants who resided there to upkeep the place in the von Schlieffen's brief absence, and Crystal, Magdalena grit her teeth together. I couldn't stop her. I didn't expect it of her. I had no idea that she was capable of such cruelty. I soon learned that I had erred in my judgment, however, when she tore her way through the servants who still resided there. She slipped into their quarters, quicker and swifter than a cat, and she made short work of them. She murdered all the scullery maids in their beds, and the housekeeper, and the footman. By the time I had caught her, it was too late. She had murdered dozens of servants, and she was dripping with gore. There were chunks of flesh beneath her nails, and in her hair, and the smell. Magdalena pressed one hand to her mouth. But the worst part about it all was the expression on Crystal's face as she carried out these atrocities. She didn't look aghast at her actions, but she didn't seem particularly euphoric either. Her face was just blank, like a slate, and completely empty. Killing didn't seem to rouse any particularly strong emotions within her, but she killed all the same because it was what her instincts told her to do. Like a rabid animal, she knew of nothing save attacking. She bore her fangs in her claws and she killed them, all of them. The servants' quarters looked like a scene from hell itself, and the blood. I'm ashamed to admit that I found the smell quite enticing, but the horror of it all helped me resist. I was no longer a human, but I still possessed my sense of morals. I didn't want to behave as Crystal was. She was a child and had an excuse, but I was an adult. I knew better. I told myself that I would act better too. I knew I couldn't reintroduce Crystal to polite society, or any society, as she was. I was afraid she would harm anybody she came across, so I decided to bind her inside, to her bed, to stop her from causing any further chaos. Then I devoted myself to finding victims for her, so she would not starve. I had hoped animal blood would be enough to satiate her, but she turned her nose up at it. She would only drink the blood of humans, and it had to be fresh. I had no choice but to kill on her behalf, to sustain her, but I tried to do so without drawing too much attention to ourselves. I've been looking after Crystal for the last century. While Crystal slept, I had a lot of free time, and with it I taught myself to read and how to write. I made use of all the books in the library and the von Schlieffens left behind, and with this knowledge I fashioned myself into a lady of sorts. After being a maid for so many years, I think I wanted to act a little more important than I really was. I suppose part of me even believed I deserved to act thus, being a vampire. I was stronger now, after all, than any human could ever dream of being. It was quite a rush, I'll admit, when I slew my first victim for Crystal's sake. It was thrilling, almost, to bring down a grown man with such ease. Part of me took delight in my powers, but another, greater part of me grappled with the cruelty of my actions. I tried to target people who deserved it, much like those bandits who pursued you and Henrique, but that hasn't always been possible. I've killed any number of innocents to sustain Crystal. I try to tell myself I'm not like her. I at least am rational, but when I consider all the evil deeds I've committed over the years, I have to wonder. Am I really any better than she is? I'm a vampire too, when all is said and done. I should have died over a century ago. I can play at being a human well enough, better than many others of my kind, and I do try to remember my manners. The fine clothes I wear are all for show, as is my affected way of talking. Crystal might have been a monster, but she was never trying to pretend to be otherwise. She was too earnest for it. I, meanwhile, gad about as though I am worth more than I am, as though I am a real lady. A lady! Magdalena scoffed, though it was without any humor. Though her lips were pulled into the grim facsimile of a smile, her eyes were dark and joyless. I could never be a lady like you, Micah. I wasn't born into nobility. I am just a hapless maid playing pretend. But no, I am not even that. I am a monster, a murderer. I have no right to act with all these airs and graces, as though I'm so much better than anybody else. I have no right to be alive at all. Oh, Lena. Micah sighed thus, once Magdalena had finished speaking. She looked at her companion with gentle, compassionate eyes, then reached forth. Taking one of Magdalena's gloved hands in her own, she squeezed and said, You may see yourself as a monster, but I don't. I could never regard you like that. No? Magdalena sniffed, her shoulders trembling, though her eyes, as always, remained dry and devoid of tears. You don't think of me wicked after I caused you so much suffering. I kidnapped you, and if Hyde-Marie hadn't killed my poor mistress, I am certain I would have fed you to her in the end, as I have so many others. Yes, I know. But it's not as though you tricked me. You let me know illusions that, should I remain in your home, I would not meet my end. You warned me, but still I persisted in remaining here. I would have let me go. You would have let me go, remember, had I not come to Henny's defense. Well, of course I remember. It was your self-sacrifice which first made me regard you not as another morsel for my mistress, but as an equal. I thought the way you treated Henrique was admirable. My own mistress, Crystal's mother, that is, never would have been so conscientious. I was never regarded as a friend of the family. I was only ever a servant. In that sense, I suppose I am somewhat jealous that you and Henny are so close. She is lucky to have a mistress like you. And Crystal was very lucky to have a maid like you, who was so unfailingly loyal. You stayed by her while you were alive, and continued to serve her even after the pair of you returned. That is why you performed so many immoral actions. It wasn't for the fun of it, nor the thrill, that you hunted down all those who traversed too close to your home. You did it because of your overwhelming loyalty for your mistress. You didn't want to let her die. Is that not right? It is right, yes, but oh, Hyde-Marie was right to scorn me. Though I had the best of intentions, I was woefully misguided. The young girl I had cared for died a long, long time ago. She looked somewhat akin to my Crystal, but she was not her. She was not a human. By prolonging her life in so unnatural a way, I only made her suffer more. If I truly loved her, I never would have chained her up indoors as I did. I should have let her starve. That would have been a real kindness. It's easy to say what you should have done now, but I don't think you would have had it in you, Lena. To kill my mistress? Micah nodded. I know you like to posture yourself as a heartless monster, devoid of emotion, but that isn't true. You're far nicer than you appear. You say that you should let your mistress starve, but I doubt you could have let that happen. You would have felt much too guilty. It wasn't her fault, after all, that she was turned. No, it wasn't. You're quite right about that. My mistress was innocent, in a sense. She was only a child. I don't think she really knew what it was she was doing. But she was still incredibly dangerous, all the more because she did not understand her own strength. She certainly didn't recognize me after she was turned, though she had always been fond of me when she had been alive. I would sit with her every day and try to penetrate the fog which shrouded her memories, to little avail. If she had known who I was, I like to think that she wouldn't have hurt me. But she still did. I knew she was a monster whose existence would cause others untold harm, yet still I could not kill her. I pitied her far too much. She was beyond being detestable, but I can't say the same about myself. I still maintained my sense even after being turned, and I knew what I was doing was wrong. My hands are stained with so much blood, I fear I'll never be able to wash them clean. I'm glad that you still seem to care for me, Micah, but how can you bear to be with me? Don't you think me unforgivably wicked? You might think you are wicked. You've certainly said so enough times, but I do not. You were put in a difficult place, but I think you did the best you could. You're not a bad person, Lena, just an unfortunate one. You never asked to be turned into a vampire either. I know that, but how am I supposed to live my life now? How can I ever forgive myself? Silence filled the room following Magdalena's exclamation. Her chest rose and fell with sharp, uneven breaths, and her eyelids trembled. Though Magdalena's skin was untouched by age, Micah could see the years of pain and self-reproach written upon her. It pooled in her eyes, which seemed, all of a sudden, unfathomably deep. They were so full of self-loathing, Micah feared she might drown in them. Micah could see now beyond all of Magdalena's bravado, could see one clear, unmistakable truth. She could see that Magdalena despised herself. Magdalena had despised herself for many, many years, ever since she had been turned into a vampire. Magdalena could not love herself, for she had become something she considered evil. But Micah could. She realized, been in love with Magdalena for a long while already. Lena. Micah spoke about softly, still squeezing Magdalena's hand. I can't say when or even if you'll be able to forgive yourself. That isn't something for me to decide. You'll have to think about all you've done on your own and try to come to your own conclusions. Yes, I thought you might say that. It's as I feared. Well, I've had a century to think things through, and I already know what I think. I don't believe that I can be forgiven. It isn't possible. I've done too many awful things. Hyde Marie should have put me to death a dozen times over, and not even that would be enough to cleanse all of my sins. They're too great and they weigh upon me too heavily. That might be true for you, and it's true too that I don't know all the pain you've wrought. I know instead only of how you treated me. I know that you did not wish to cause me any undue hurt. Micah leant in, then pressed her other hand to Magdalena's cheek, cupping it gently, her fingers splayed. She then said, And I know that, even if you can't forgive yourself, I can. I forgive you, not on behalf of your other victims. I'm afraid I don't have that authority, but for all you've ever done to me. Do you really mean that? Micah nodded. I don't hate you, Lena, and I certainly don't think you're a monster. How could I, when I care for you so deeply? You have come to mean a good deal to me during the weeks we spent together, and... if I'm being honest, I don't ever want to be parted from you. Micah. Oh, Micah. Magdalena sniffled, her pale eyelashes trembling. I don't think I deserve your kindness, nor your fondness. But I'm not arrogant enough to assume I can tell you how to feel, though I know I've often acted like it. Your feelings are your own. If you like me as much as you say you do, then I suppose I'll have to accept it. I don't really understand it, but... A small smile caught the corner of Magdalena's lips, thinner than a piece of sewing thread. I like you too, Micah. Oh, Lena. Micah. Okay, hold on. I gotta start getting ready. Micah leant in closer still, the inches of space which parted her and Magdalena diminishing with each millisecond. Do you think they're gay? Nah, they're just really good friends. There came a brief pause of about a second, like the gap between seeing and hearing a bolt of lightning as both women stared at one another. They swallowed as though in unison. Then they shifted. Oh, okay. It's just a normal kiss. It's just a normal kiss. Nothing gets me going than a dead child. It was Micah who moved first, but Magdalena soon followed her lead, bridging the infinitesimally short space between them. They parted their lips, then pressed their mouths together. It was a very soft, gentle, tender kind of kiss, different from the one they had shared before, after Magdalena had drained Micah of her blood. This was a kiss born, not from fear that soon their acquaintance would end, but from hopes, tentative though they were, for the future. The kiss lasted only for a few moments, but might have endured for longer had both women not been interrupted by the sound of a startled gasp. Oh no, Henny discovered they're gay. Oh my! Micah and Magdalena pulled away, Micah blushing abashedly to glance over at the doorway. There Henny stood, her eyes wide, frozen like a figure in a photograph. She was almost gray-faced enough for it, her fingers curled about the door handle. Micah had half a mind to try and make excuses, to tell Henny that things were not as they looked, but she hadn't had a chance to get out any words. Henny was already beginning to babble. I do beg your pardon, Micah. I didn't mean to walk in on you. If you're otherwise engaged, I can always leave. I'd hate to intrude. I can tell when I'm not wanted. What? No, Henny... Micah frowned. Henny in the doorway. Is this where you find out the maid is super homophobic and they gotta get rid of her? No! Henny wouldn't be homophobic. Micah frowned, her perplexity overcoming her embarrassment. Of course you're wanted. I'm always happy to see you. You don't need to apologize. Are you sure? It seemed like the pair of you were rather busy. Not that I can blame you for it. You've not had a chance to be alone in quite a while, and I'm sure Magdalena is pleased to see that you've recovered. It's only natural that you would want to celebrate, though I must admit I am somewhat surprised to discover how close you are. That isn't to say I'm judging you for it, though. I'm happy, in fact. You are? Of course. I think it's a wonderful thing that you care for Magdalena so much. It doesn't matter to me that she's a woman, or even that she's a vampire. Okay, there's ads. I gotta go pee. You guys go talk about the maid. I'll be right back. Okay, what are you guys talking about over there? Neither equal crimes. Problematic K-Rona. Okay, continuing on. Greetings, hello, BX Clint. Welcome, welcome. Welcome back, thank you. You've always been such an individual, Micah. It makes sense that only an unusual person could win your heart. Not that I mean to insult you, of course. That's all right. I know that I must seem awfully unusual in the eyes of you humans. I cannot blame you for being surprised at Micah's... How shall we term them? Magdalena smiled, her eyes crinkling. Affections, let us say, towards me. In fact, I'm rather surprised at it myself. I did not think when first I imprisoned her we would ever become so close. She is rather unique, though, as far as young ladies go. She's not at all like the prim, prissy young madame I once believed her to be. Oh, yes, my Micah's always been unique. She used to get into all sorts of scrapes when she was young. Her mother would almost hit the roof, she would, at some of her stunts. I can well imagine. Magdalena tittered, then glancing to Micah, began to toy with a few loose locks of her hair. Were you a naughty girl, Micah? As a child, maybe. I fear Hen is misrepresenting me, though. I stopped acting half so wayward on my 13th birthday. I thought I ought to start acting more like a young lady, and if I am being wholly honest, being scolded so incessantly by my mother began to grate on me. I thought my life would be easier if I changed my attitude, but it didn't make me happy. Yes, you had mentioned. Your mother sounded rather overbearing. She was very overbearing. She decided every aspect of my life, or so it seemed. Sometimes I felt I could not even sneeze without her permission. As is often the way with nobility. I know of it but well, having much experience with the elite. I was often punished. It was quite tedious, being forever at the beck and call of my so-called superiors. I was at my mother's beck and call too, despite being her daughter. I was supposed to be a lady, but I felt more like a servant. I think I might have had even less freedom than Hen did. My mother decided what I wore and what I ate and when I slept, and as if that weren't enough, she also meant to decide who I would love. My poor mistress. I know you never cared for Herr Gerhardt, and after spending so much time in his venerable company, I can see why. That man is an ass. Oh, he is, isn't he? All that Latin. Micah pulled a face. He's such a bore. He's so stuck up and self-important. It was enough to turn my stomach, and he was small-minded too, for all his airs and graces. Can you believe, Micah, that he didn't care tuppence about what might have happened to you? I told him you'd been kidnapped, and he didn't even attempt to try and find you. It was as though, I don't know. As though he'd written you off as a bad business venture, like cargo that had fallen from a trading ship during a storm. That is often how I felt around him, yes. I'm not surprised that Herr Gerhardt did not rush to my rescue. It would have been more surprising if he had. I would be very happy if I never saw him again. That is something I can concur with, at least. You've no need for a fiancé now, not when you have me. Oh my! Henny's face, which had begun to cool during her indictment of Walter Gerhardt's, now began to color anew. The pair of you certainly are close, aren't you? That kiss ought to have given it away, I suppose, but well. This is an awful lot for me to come to terms with, though I suppose it's nothing so very scandalous, now that I know vampires exist and miracles. When I think about all of that, I don't suppose it should be too surprising that two women might fall in love, just as a woman and a man might. Okay, guys, this is how we get people to unwoke or to become woke. Just show them that vampires and miracles exist for real, and then they'll be like, oh shit, that means gay people exist too. I'll admit, I've never given it much thought myself, but if you two are happy, who am I to judge? Based. You You might have kidnapped my Micah, Magdalena, but you've certainly been more attentive to her needs than her so-called fiancé. Show them Twilight, then show them Cage of Roses. At the very least, you seem to care for her. Oh, you needn't worry about that, Henrique. I care for your Micah a good deal. I might have done so many wicked things in my life, but I am not devoid of feeling, and neither am I impervious to love. I've been alone for a very long time, but Micah has stolen my heart. Lena. If it isn't much of a heart, of course, given it no longer beats. But for what it's worth, my feelings are sincere. I really do love you. And you. I promise you that. And I'm very glad to hear it. Your relationship might raise a few eyebrows, but I don't care much about that. I'd far rather you be happy, Micah, than correct. What is correct anyway? Why, I'm starting to think all these rules and customs are made up just to give us little folk, and us larger folk too, more hoops to jump through. Why can't two women be in love if that's how they feel? This woke for real. I, for one, think the world could use more love, not less. Feelings such as this should be celebrated. Henny. Micah smiled, touched at her maid's impassioned words. Thank you for being so understanding. I'm not sure what I would have done if you'd rejected me. This is too woke for the time period. This is ruining my immersion. As if I would. I hope you weren't worrying about that, Micah. What a waste of time if you were. You should know by now that I never judge you or desert you. Why, I spent the last few weeks out of my mind with worry scrambling to save you. Your fiancé, ex-fiancé, I should say, threatened to have me thrown in an asylum for worrying about you too much. Oh, goodness, he didn't, did he? Yes, he did. Not just once, but twice. He said he was concerned about my safety, but I don't believe a word of it. He just wanted me out of the way. Bah! Henny turned and spat upon the carpet. Let's not talk about him no more. It's not like we'll be seeing him again, and good riddance, I say. I've had enough Latin to last me a lifetime. Micah began to giggle at this, as did Henny. Magdalena, who had not had the pleasure of meeting Walter Gerhardt, was less amused, but smiled still to see Micah so happy. Once this moment of merriment passed, Henny folded her arms beneath her bosom and said, Now, it is all well and good saying what we won't do, but I'm starting to wonder about the future. Do either of you have any plans? You don't intend to stay in the forest, do you, in this house? Oh, no. I have no fondness for this place. I never liked it much when I worked here as a servant, and I like it less now that I've been incarcerated here for over a century. This place has always felt like a prison, despite being so grandiose. It's much too big for its own good, and almost impossible to clean. It's practically falling apart about my very ears. You're not wrong about that. This place needs a thorough cleaning before it's even to be halfway habitable, and even then I think it's been left unloved for too long. I doubt it'll ever feel like a real home. Lady Von Essen would have been beside herself if her house had wound up in such a state. This place, unfortunately, has never felt like a home to me. It isn't where I was born, and it's not where I belong. My own family came from Inningen, which isn't too far away from Augsburg. I would like to see my parents again, or my younger sisters, but they will be long dead by now. There is nothing left for me in this dreary abode. It is half decayed already, and it makes me think of nothing but my young mistress's miserable fate. There is nothing for me in Inningen either, though, nor in Augsburg. As a vampire, there's nothing for me anywhere. I have nowhere I can call my home now. But I think I could make a home, maybe, if I could remain with Micah, and perhaps I could even be happy. What do you say? Would you like to live with me, Micah? I, at least, would never make you work on your embroidery like your mother, and I wouldn't try to marry you off either. You could read all the books you wanted. I wouldn't chastise you. Oh, yes, I would love that. But where would we go? How would we live? I'm not wholly sure, but I have a few ideas. And deprecated though this abode is, and crumbling with age, its rooms and halls are full of valuables. Lord von Schlieffen was an avid collector of curios from the Middle East, and his rooms are full of trinkets which ought to fetch a good price from interested buyers. I think if we were to sell a lot of these old bits and pieces, we will be able to embark upon a new life together with minimal difficulties. As for where we will go, I am undecided, but perhaps we needn't settle on a location right now. Anything will be fine, I am sure. If I am with you. Oh, Lena. Micah trembled at both Magdalena's gentle words and at her touch. Her cheeks turned pink, as they so oft did when she and Magdalena were together, and it was with a sigh that she said, I want to stay with you too. There's nothing I want more. And me? If you need a hand hawking your wares, then please make full use of me. My father used to sell his wares all across the country, and I used to help when I was younger. I'd be more than happy to ferry your bits and pieces to Augsburg if you need an extra pair of hands, and when you've gathered enough funds, I like to move away with you. I wouldn't get in your way, of course. I'd give the pair of you some privacy, but I can't bear to be parted from my Micah, not when she's a good friend to me. Can't we stay together? Oh, of course we can. I don't want to be parted from you either, Hen, unless... Micah paused to look at Magdalena. Would you have an issue with that? With Henrique? Magdalena smiled thinly. I might be a little jealous, maybe. But no, I would not mind it. I would appreciate her help if she is willing to offer it. Shifting all the valuables from this old pile would be quite a task. I don't know if I'd be up to it on my own. You won't be on your own. I can work as diligently as a cart horse, or so I've heard, and I'm no stranger to menial labor. Let's do that then. It sounds like a wonderful plan. If I was on my own, I doubt I'd have much of a future. I wouldn't know what to do with myself. Perhaps I would fall afoul to one of the church's executors on purpose, so that I might be granted some rest. I spent all my afterlife caring for my young mistress. I always feared that, without her, I would be lost. But now I know that isn't the case. I have found an unlikely friend in you, Henrique, and an even more unlikely lover in you, Micah, and who knows? If I stay with you, even a monster like me might be able to be happy. I weep at the waste of this property. You'll really give me this massive estate away? Do you know how much value this land has? Yeah, and what happened to, like, why aren't they going back to the Von Essen estate? Her father and mother are dead, but like she's still alive, so like Maggie. Later that night, found Micah and Magdalena abed together, their bodies pressed close, the covers about them rumpled, half hanging on the floor. Okay, I think this is Sesbian Lex. Hold on. No. Magdalena had stolen into Micah's room, attired in a dark nightgown Micah had not seen her wear before, a twin of her own, but in black, not white. Magdalena had only meant to lie with Micah at first, and to listen to the comforting beating of her heart, to reassure herself that all was well, that they would be well. But Magdalena had, alas, been unable to lie with Micah without wishing to kiss her, and then she had been unable to kiss Micah without wanting to touch her. Micah had lent into all of Magdalena's advances and reciprocated until both women were intimately entwined. Yep. I am not reading anymore. I am not reading anymore. Yep, this is Sesbian Lex, all right. No images yet, but just text. Yep. Oh, that is naked boobies. Yeah, it's a good thing. Yeah, that's all. That's they are both naked. Oh my god! Wait, hold on. I didn't save this. Hold on. Oh no! I can't show you this. But hold on. I have to go back. Okay. Hold on. I have to go back. Hold on. I have to go back because I can't save that, because then you would see the Sesbian Lex image if I put it there. Okay, skip. I don't believe you're a visual learner. I'll wait till they get to a better picture. I'm not reading. Oh no! Oh, that's a whole bullshit. That's a whole pussy! Oh my god! I'm gonna send this to Mackie. Okay, I'm leaving. Bye. Oh my god! I am not reading this whole. That's that. Oh my lordy! They are doing the Sesbian legs. They are doing the Sesbian legs. Oh my god! Oh my god! Okay. Is that it? It ends with Sesbian legs? It just ends with Sesbian legs, bro. It took like 10 hours to get to the good stuff. I still don't think we never got vampire bodies. The only vampires bodies we got were the straight people. And that vampire, the bitey thing is like technically a child, so, or in a child body rather. Okay, that's fine. Is there like a prologue? Epilogue: Sunflowers in September. It's October. It was late evening in Paris, and the sun had already set, the moon round and white, and the sky like an egg. Despite the lateness of the hour, however, the streets were still lively. Hi, Sap. Hi, Chat. Hi, Urethra. You literally just missed the Sesbian Lex and me going, ooh. Carriages went up and down the cobbled streets, the horses' hooves striking the ground at irregular intervals, while the vast wheels of these lumbering vehicles rumbled like thunder. It was always busy in Paris, or so Micah had discovered. Oh, they went to France? Rain or shine, day or night, especially in the Avenue Montaigne? Which was full of expensive shops which catered to the most privileged of customers. Did the vampire ever bite her in the end? I mean, I didn't read the Sesbian Lex, I just skipped through it, so... But as far as I know, they were just touching each other in all places. So, and the image very clearly shows Magdalena dipping her hands in the honey pot, you know what I mean? The image very clearly showed that. You cannot go back to the VOD unless the VOD is not getting published because of that. Oh no, I mean, like, you can't see the images. You just get my reaction to me going, ooh. That's it. Because I have a good sense for when Sesbian Lex is gonna happen. Being a former, you know, smut writer myself, I kind of have a good feeling when I have a good sense for when, if something tells me there's gonna be NSFW, I have a good sense for it, because usually if there's a little bit of intimate words that get thrown around before the actual Sesbian Lex happens. She ain't showing anything to even text. Yeah, no, I didn't show anything. I just closed the game and was like, nope. AO3 instinct kicking in. Thank you so much.
Cats.
Oh, they just no pissers for you. Thank you for the reset for 31 months though. I appreciate it. Silly. Theater goers and opera enthusiasts strolled past Micah, their fashionable hats and coiffed hair illuminated by the street lamps, while their servants hurried in their wake, carrying boxes and bags in their arms from a day spent shopping. We're pissers? No pissers, it's cats now. Young girls, meanwhile, some of them not much older than 10 or 11, tried to hawk various goods to those who passed, roasted hazelnuts and wilting daisies picked from the roadside. Most of the passers-by ignored these street sellers, but Micah was less cold-hearted. She paused by one such flower girl, a particularly young thing with dark hair and fair skin, who looked eerily like Magdalena's departed mistress, with a furrow upon her brow. Micah had lived in Paris for well over a year and had begun to feel almost at home amongst the streets. The stark disparity between the rich and the poor did weigh upon her, however. Micah could not help but feel for the girl, especially when she herself was wearing such finery. It seemed cruel to simply walk past her, but there were so many similar children in Paris. Micah knew distributing a handful of coins here and there would have little tangible benefit. She paused for a few moments, perturbed, when... Here you are, young mademoiselle. Mademoiselle. Oh, God. Shiro, hello. Welcome, welcome. How was your ASMR stream? How was that? How was that? And welcome, everybody. Welcome, welcome. Hope you had a good stream. Hello, everybody. My name is Saphera Denoma, a truly necromancer Nephilim Wolf. And currently, we are just vibing with some Vampire Yuri VN. This is kind of the ending, though. So, spoilers? Question mark? Yeah. Madam as well, ale. I was wishing nobody heard me struggle with Mademoiselle. Next BT3, thank you for the follow. Welcome. It was great. Did Re-Village then reading stream? Oh, hopefully Re-Village went really well. And the reading stream, of course, of course. YOLO. So true. I do the same thing. Thank God it's not just me. But thank you again for the raid. Thank you again for the raid. If you need to go ahead and do any streamer aftercare, by all means, please go ahead and take care of yourself. Otherwise, we are just vibing. I'm just reading. So, you know. An amazing time. I'm so glad to hear it. It's always good when streams end with a good time. Love you the look. Thank you. I would show off. Well, I mean, I guess I could show off my tail for a bit, but you know. It's just kind of, you know, it kind of gets distracting, as you can see. But thank you. Thank you again for the raid. I do appreciate it. If you have to take care of yourself, raiders as well, by all means, please do. I know it's getting late. I don't know how much longer we have left on this, though, because it is the ending. You guys just missed Sesbian Lex, though. I'm going to be so silly. There was quite literally Sesbian Lex. I mean, I made it so people couldn't see anything, but there was literally Sesbian Lex. Oh my God, so fluffy. Yeah, dang, I missed his hatch. It's okay, so did the rest of chat. Anytime he has almost 3 a.m., so I'm gonna lurk and vibe, of course. Thank you again for the raid. Do take care of yourself. Enjoy the lurk. Thank you, thank you. And also, Scarlet Nightmare, thank you for the follow. And also, welcome as well to, let's see, Scarlet Nightmare, Shiro, and Nyx. Thank you, thank you. All right, back to weeding. Where are we at? Here you are, mademoiselle. Now do keep the change. It's well deserved, for these flowers are so very beautiful. Magdalena approached the dark-haired girl, handing her several coins from her pocket with a flourish. It seemed Magdalena shared Micah's sentiments about the poor girl. Had she, too, seen the resemblance to Crystal in her pale, almost sallow skin and her dark hair? Micah wasn't sure, but Magdalena seemed to be rather enjoying her role as the girl's benefactress. Thank you, Shiro. She beamed, now resting a gloved hand upon the girl's head, and said, in exchange, would you mind giving me your finest bloom for my fair lady? Please give her something which would set off her lovely red hair and her lovely blue eyes. I want my lady to look her best. Oh, yes! A young flower girl, who seemed to be almost 12 or 13, older than Crystal then, giggled, then reached into the wicker basket which dangled in the crook of her skinny arm. She rooted about inside the basket, shifting her flowers aside, probably ill-gotten, blooms snaffled from some noblewoman's front garden, before she drew from within its depths. Et voila! 2 sunflowers, larger than the other blooms in her basket, and quite magnificent, with twin riots of bright yellow petals. These sunflowers were large enough to be ostentatious, but Magdalena didn't seem to mind. Instead, she seemed quite pleased with the flowers that the girl had presented her, beholding them as if they were fine treasures made of solid gold. She beamed, though, not too widely. It wouldn't do to startle the girl with her sharp incisors, then said, "Thank you kindly, mademoiselle. You are too kind. I'm sure my lady will look wonderful with these." "Oh, I'm sure she will. There's no way she won't, kind mademoiselle. Not when she's so pretty. These flowers will suit her to a T, and thanks again. God bless you." "No?" Magdalena paused, standing by the roadside as the flower girl took off, practically beaming from ear to ear. Her sweet, well-meaning appellation, "God bless you," must have struck a chord because Magdalena looked quite bemused. She blinked beneath the brim of her hat, holding the stems of the large sunflowers between her gloved hands. Mutely, she looked out at the crowd into which the flower girl had run, her hair shifting in the breeze. Then she frowned. Would God bless me, I wonder? Often I felt as if he had forsaken me, but... Lady Magdalena! Henny, who had been walking apace with Micah, her hands laden with various boxes from their latest shopping excursion, now paused. "Are you all right? You look very deep in thought there." "What?" Magdalena blinked like one awaking from a long, long dream and shook her head. Faintly she smiled, a smile quite unlike any of the smiles Micah had seen from her during her sojourn into the von Schliffen's old tumble-down manor in the depths of the woods. Then in a light voice she said, "Never mind me, Henny. I feel perfectly fine." "Are you sure?" Henny smiled teasingly, though initially uneasy around Magdalena. She had grown quite comfortable with her during the years they had been together, and she sounded quite cheerful when she said, "If you're not careful, you'll get swept away by the tide and trampled underfoot." Ha! Magdalena chuckled at this, then shook her head. "I would like to see this crowd try. If they have any sense, they ought to know to keep their distance." True to Magdalena's words, the crowds were giving her something of a berth. Busy though the streets were, the men and the women, their children too, seemed naturally to avoid her, as if they knew no good could come of consorting with such a maiden. Though Magdalena was short of stature and rather skinny, she exuded a sort of aura which seemed to render most people uneasy. Was it her red eyes, perhaps, or her pale skin? Micah was unsure, but it did make shopping easier than it might otherwise have been, and they were never jostled when they went to the opera either. The flower girl from earlier must have been made of unusually stern stuff if she had not been perturbed by Magdalena. That or she had been that desperate for gold coins she hadn't much cared about how sinister she was. Well, true enough. We've not had to worry about pickpockets with you around. But you really shouldn't stand about like that. You aren't feeling unwell, are you? I'm quite all right, thank you. I fear this street is too crowded for my liking, however, and is much too noisy. Let us depart for now. I could use some quiet. Magdalena turned, Micah and Henny following in her footsteps. The trio of women left Avenue Montaigne, which was busy at all hours, and retreated to the riverside, to a quieter part of Paris, where there were a few opera enthusiasts and self-styled gentlemen. The sounds of the carriages had faded away, to be replaced by the running of the water, the discordant quacking of the nearby ducks. It was even darker now than it had been, and the sky was a rich navy blue, a tapestry of stars which fringed the all-seeing moon. The moon's light caught in Magdalena's fair hair, so it seemed to shine like silver, obscured though it was beneath the brim of her hat. Magdalena rarely went outdoors without a hat, though this might have been an unnecessary precaution. She took care never to leave the house when it was too bright. When it was too bright. Micah sometimes found it unfortunate she could not promenade with Magdalena during the sunlight hours, but she had never once begrudged Magdalena for it. She enjoyed going outdoors with her partner when the sun was beginning to set, when the cool, crisp breeze was full of secrets, and the grass seemed to shiver as it awaited the dawning of a brand new day. Free from the crowds, Magdalena turned to Micah. Then, very gently, she smiled. She stepped forth, one of the sunflowers in her hand, then threaded it through Micah's copper hair, a delicate gesture which made Micah shiver. Magdalena beheld Micah, her red eyes full of some emotion Micah could not quite place, affection, she imagined, or perhaps something deeper, as she said, "Now that we are on our own, I feel I ought to relay the young flower girl's message to you. Such kind words are wasted on me, given my true nature. But I hope God blesses you, my Micah. You deserve it." "Lena." Micah blinked. A blush rose to her cheeks, pale pink. That's very kind of you, but I think you deserve a few of those blessings yourself. I wouldn't want to take all of them. Wouldn't that be greedy? Not at all. You can be as greedy as you want with me, Micah. Everything I have, you may take. I do belong to you, after all, body and soul. And really, you needn't worry about God blessing me. No? No. After all, I have you. Magdalena's red eyes softened. A gust of wind blew, stirring her hair, the hem of her long coat. The young sunflower in Micah's hair was so very striking it might have been garish, especially when contrasted with her shock of vivid red hair. But it was late, and the lights were dim, and the sunflower instead seemed a very soft and lovely thing indeed. That sunflower seemed to carry within it a whole wealth of meaning. It was the sun which Magdalena could not stand beneath, for fear that she would burn to a crisp, that her body would be consigned to ashes. Magdalena could not step out during the day, but she did not need to. Now she had Micah. Micah would continue to shine upon her, to smile at her. And in that sense, perhaps Magdalena was very fortunate indeed. Both women had rescued the other. They had allowed one another to escape, and when Magdalena next spoke, Micah felt her heart flutter. Micah stared at Magdalena, who was so divinely beautiful she put all of the goddesses in the Greek pantheon to shame, as she said, "And when we are together, I feel very, very blessed indeed." What I'm curious about when you have a vampire fall in love with a mortal is how do they answer the whole question of like eventually the human grows old and dies? Because like I imagine that for a good chunk it might just be like, oh, you would also just like share the curse of immortality with them and just like, you know, be eternally immortal forever. But I don't think every story turns out that way. That's it. Henny just standing in the background carrying all their stuff, for real too. They die? But then they get so sad when their partner dies. It's so depressing. Anyway, that's it for Sesbian Lex Game. That's it for Sesbian Lex Game for real. So, sadness is part of Scar. That's so sad. People die and it's really sad. That's fucked up. Anyway, so that's it for Cage of Roses for the Vampire Yuri game. I didn't confirm if there were any bites between these two, because if there was, I didn't see it in the CG for the Sesbian Lex. I'll read it after stream, because I didn't want to read it on stream. But I'll read it off stream and see. But I don't think they do bites though. That's why they don't say "till death do us part." They follow to the graves. Oh, that's also another route where the vampire's like, you know what? I lived my life with you. I'm gonna die with you too. There's also that too. No bite is to 0 out of 10. There was a bitey, but just for, you know, the straight couple rather than a lesbian couple. This is homophobia /J. T5 for letting us in on the Sesbian Lex journey with you. Thank you guys for being here and listening to me yap and do scuff voice acting for everyone, even when I fucked up and tripped over my words a billion times. But it was good. Be silly. I do feel like still there's probably a lot of areas that were like too, fluff and a little bit repetitive at times. But you know, that is just it kind of be like that. I mean, overall though, it's still a good story. It's still good, solid story. I do think there are places for potential refinement. But that's just me personally. Also, as somebody who tends to mostly want to focus on the main couple rather than like side people, but you know. But I do think, like, for the most part, I don't feel like there were any loose ends for the most part. It felt very, at least, like, in that regard, it felt very cohesive, which is good. Because, like, you know, they left a few, like, questioning things with certain side characters, but then they also, like, revealed little details where if you are literate enough, you would understand, oh, that's what that person was talking about, that's what happened, etc., etc. And I like little nods like that. So... you like the side people? I mean, I didn't dislike the side people, but I did feel like sometimes it was a bit excessive, you know, just in my opinion. But that's also because I just wanted more Sesbian Yuri, so, you know. Little nods are nice, yeah. But I still think it was pretty good. So, you're so mad. I'm just a little bit picky. And this is why I feel like even if someone does like werewolf and like vampire stuff, it wouldn't be to my taste. Because like, it has to be like how I want it. One of these days, I'll make it happen. I assume you saw the Lex? Oh, yeah, we did. Yeah, I know your ass is picky. Yeah, my ass is a little bit picky. I don't care that Johan pushed himself too hard and he wanted to become a vampire. Show us the lesbians. But I mean, hey, it ended with Sesbian Lex, and then the epilogue was a very nice CG, so. Cleric was so powerful to cast, yeah. You completely missed the climax of the novel. I can't believe you missed the Sesbian Lex. Unbelievable. What exactly conspired? Sesbian Lex, duh. She blinked out the screen. Yeah, you guys aren't allowed to see it because it was literally 2 naked bodies. You could see the cat. You know what I mean? Oh, wait, wrong climax. Oh, okay. You mean the other climax. Well, I guess you gotta go check the VOD. That MF cast something like Revivify or Hell. We could all go the way to Wish, considering how much it took him out. You looked that one up? You looked it up? That's crazy. Yeah, no, it was nudity. Literally, because like I think the first one might have been questionable on Twitch. The one that we just saw, or the one I just saw, would have gotten me banned from Twitch. If that showed on screen, I would have been banned. Because the first one was arguable. It was kind of tasteful, but it was still basically, you know, it was NSFW. Second one though, no questions about it. I'm getting banned. If I showed it, which I didn't, so because I'm a good streamer, even if I play with fire. Mackie, check DM. Does Ocean want the goods? Twitch ban equal more popularity. I think that only works if you are a partner, but also no, not after I called out somebody for fucking reading smut on stream. It wouldn't reflect on me very well. So keep your spices, Ocean. If you want to, just DM me. I'll send it to you too. Okay. Yeah, I think that's it for me though today. So calling out reading smut on Strim. I mean, I did make a video about somebody reading smut. I just made fun of them for it, so. But I'm smart. I don't read smut on stream where you guys can see it anyway. Instead, I just look at it and go, ooh, and then you guys can't see it, and it's just only me. I do things the tasteful way. Cardboard can also send it, technically. True. Other dealer coming out of the woodworks. So silly. Anyway, what was I gonna do? Oh, I'm gonna raid you guys out. Okay. Oh, let me just make sure everything's all good here. Seems like everything should be good. Okay. Find Saf's only feed to get the spices. Yeah, that's the most NSFW thing on there. Go check out the only feed. You won't regret it. Ocean actually wants the spice. Here, I DM'd it to you. Anyway, Okay. Let me go read you guys out somewhere. By the way, okay, so I have to clarify a thing really quick. For join Discord funsies, yeah, we're not doing anything this week in the Discord, but next Sunday we will continue our JoJo watch along with part 6. And then you starve the audience. This is abuse. Nuh-uh. Anyway, one thing, I'm gonna take a bit of a break on Sunday. I might just hermit the entire day on Sunday. And then I'll still release a schedule. I'll still be doing two streams next week. That being, what do you call it? That being one, I think might be a collab with Sarah to continue the quarry. I'll double check with her tomorrow. And then another being Limbus Company for the Warp Train Boka. the hard mode version plus the voiced version. So we'll do that. And then I think that'll be it for next week. So I hope you guys enjoy the billion days of Saf stream for the past 2 weeks. I hope you guys had fun. Nyara! Hi, Nyara. Good to see you. Hello. Good to see you. But yeah, so I hope you guys enjoyed all the yapping streams I did and all the daily streams I did for October until today, except for Sundays. I'm gonna go hermit now. So I'll see you for... Expect less streams. Expect like 1 to 2 streams until the end of October. I'll go back to normal streaming schedule, like 3 to 4 times a week starting November. But I'm gonna take it easy for the rest of this month. So are you leaving? No, I am leaving. I'm finishing up. I'm sorry. But hey, Nyara, I gotta see some Sesbian Lex over here, so that was really silly. Chat couldn't see it. Chat couldn't see it because I hid it because I knew there was gonna be Sesbian Lex, but it was really funny though because I was like, anyway. You missed the most insane Sesbian Lex. TY for the stream and sex. Sag, it's okay. There'll always be another time where I'll be a billion hours, but today I'm taking it easy. I don't actually end this early, but I'm ready to hibernate because I yapped for way too many hours this past like 2 weeks. Chat has tired me out. Why you flexing? What do you mean, why am I flexing? Go rest. I will, don't worry. You share with Mackie, stop giving special treatments. It's only because Mackie, unsolicited, just gives me a bunch of corn I didn't ask for. She would keep going if she was playing Hollow Knight. You just know I would. Yes, and I actually did contemplate it, being like, when I was reading, I was like, oh, should I just play like more games after this? But then I'm just like, nah. I'm gonna go rest. I'm tired of yapping. I yapped for way too many hours. It's okay. You guys got a billion, like literally like a billion work days out of me. She addicted? Dude, Hollow Knight's so silly. But that being said, I don't even know where to go in Hollow Knight, so it'd be like that. But anyway, 2 weeks of just yapping. Yeah, yapping, gaming, vibing. Very good, very good. So you respond with more unsolicited corn while I'm over here begging for a crumb of the good stuff. Fine, hot chick, I'll send you the goods too. Here, I'll go send in DMs. God damn, you guys are so fucking needy. Where you at? Is this you? This is you. Here. Corn. My model. Look what you did. My model died. So needy at some age. So just sending unsolicited corn gives you privileges. It doesn't have to be on the comp. No, I don't want unsolicited corn. You should see that I just respond to Mackie with a lot of bra emotes. I don't even respond. I just give a react and then I'm done. Holy moly, cope as fuck. When was the last time I commented on it positively? I literally just give you bro emotes. Anyway, don't send me corn. I'll hate all of you. I can only tolerate one person sending me corn. And even then, I don't ask for it. He just do it. I know you dug it. You digging it. What? He's trying to defend his ass. Stop talking about Bush. Anyway, I'm gonna go radio. I don't want to talk to you guys anymore. See, this is the reason I don't want to yap anymore. You guys are fucking wildin'. Need to get out of here. You're all wacky. Let's see. Oh, what's this? Saphera. You try a little Cage of Roses CG. There's someone working on a spinoff called Cafe of Roses. Is it based on this though? Sap hates us chat. No. You don't know that term? Wait, no, what term? The bush? I know what bush means. We don't talk about bush though. Why are we talking about bush? Is this a Toho game I'm looking at right now? What is this? Is this Toho? I don't know if it's Toho, but it has the word Toho in it, so I'm just gonna raid y'all over here. I don't know what's going on. The butt digging term? I think Mackie's the first that I've heard of it. Toho raid them? Well, it doesn't look like the regular Toho. This looks like a... Well, I guess there's still bullet hell in here, but it looks like 3D. It's Toho Dystopian. Is that Toho? Anyway, she gets no fucking references. I got one yesterday. No, that's not Toho. Well, I'm sending you over there anyway, because I can. We are rating Azure Sniper _AZ. Yeah, it's been a while since I rated them. For real, for real. Ow, I'm being eaten. Rude. Anyway, come join the Discord. That's where the community hangs out, vibes out. It's where, you know, I'm there pretty actively every day. Even though I'm mostly there to pop in sometimes, see what's going on, make sure you guys are up to getting trouble. No trouble, no weirdos. Yeah. And then we just vibe. Anyway, look forward to a schedule for next week. I think so far though, tentatively, I think it's just Tuesday and Wednesday, but don't take me on that. I'll double check by tomorrow. And then I'll have the schedule by Monday night. So look forward to it. Thank you guys again for hanging out for all these daily streams up until then, or up until today. And hope you enjoy. And then we'll go back to, there will be reduced streams for the rest of October, and then I'll get back to normal on November. Hopefully I'll be able to release a video or so on my main channel as well on YouTube. That would be pretty neat. That would be pretty neat. I'm gonna have to think about what I want to talk about though, so yeah. Saf is pretty active, says some deranged shit. Nah, I'm normal. Nah, that's quite active. Just eat for Nephilim. Yeah, when I'm eat, you don't see me for like a billion hours. See schedule in Discord? Wait, what? Okay, bye everybody. Keep it vibing.